I think it's your second time, maybe your third. I remember you were doing a truth or tour with Janine down south in the or in the west of the United States once or twice. I had you on the show tangentially. You guys were doing something. But first of all, welcome. How are you doing, sir? And how is life treating you right now? What's new with you?
Well, I'm creating a beautiful reality where I don't give a shit what the government does, and I'm just building my own my own life. I'm very well, thank you. I'm a bit confused to have 3 YouTube channels, but otherwise I'm good, and it's great to see both.
Great to have you on. Let me start here. So perhaps for some of the audience members who don't know who you are, explain to them the process of how Universe conspired to make you a YouTuber in the first place. What was the transition from your professional world, your 3D world, into the fray of trying to share with the world at large a new emerging reality outside of what the government narrative appeared to be at the time? What transpired? How did Universe conspire to make you a YouTuber?
How long have I got?
As long as you want, Mark.
4 hours.
Okay. 2 hours. He told me it was going to be a 4-hour show. I was like, it started before birth. Actually, I came into the world as like most people watching this probably thinking, well, what am I doing here? Who are these people? And you know, I was lecturing my parents on their household bill management when I was 4 years old. So I was a bit of a strange kid. And then when I look back on it, the whole thing's been spiritual, and they've been after me ever since I got here. So my awakening really started when I was brainwashed as a teenager, joined the military, joined the RAF, became a trainee pilot, and then resigned before I finished because I met Prince Philip at St. James's Palace when I think I was 18 or 19, and I was in my Air Force uniform, and I was picking up an award, and he shook my hand, and he said, I see you've joined the and somebody had to whisper Royal Air Force in his ear, and I was like, hang on, you're the boss. How do you not know what that is? And that was the beginning of me. Basically, I drove away from there that day with my mum going, who am I working for? What? I don't get it, because I was all Queen and Country. Right. I used to salute the TV when the national anthem came on. Nobody else was in the room. That's how bad I was. When I say bad, I don't mean that bad. There were good motivations for wanting to be in the military, and I do admire anybody that goes through it. But who is running it and what they're running it for? And that was really the beginning of that. And then lots of things happened to me in terms of my own wake up. I read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion in 1999. A Canadian comedian called Alan Park gave me that in a Manchester curry house. Same street we had a curry in Janine a couple of years ago. And that was just before the millennium bug. And I remember that was terrifying at the time, because I realized that's when everything really started opening up for me, and it carried on. One of my best friend at school's little brother, who I also knew, was in the Twin Towers on 9/11, and we knew something was wrong there. And I spent 15 years over Matt's shoulder. Matt Campbell, his name is, when he was interviewing or being interviewed by MI6, by the police, MPs. He was trying to dig into, because he knew it was not what they said it was. And I knew it was all wrong, because all the families got $1 million, and they signed a contract this thick within 2 weeks of the event happening. It must have taken years to prepare. So it was all fairly obvious. And it was like, so, you know, I had 5 children then, and I was running a business, but at the same time, I was getting kicked out of parties and stuff for talking about satanic ritual abuse, for talking about the New World Order. Everybody thought I was insane. And I had my long dark night of the soul in 2017, and I was basically, my marriage broke up. I was suicidal. I was drinking heavily, and I was ready to go. And I got told, no, you're not going yet. And you've got a lot more to do, and you need to let everything go. And then 2.5 years later, COVID hit. I was speaking in I was just recovering, really. I was just getting back to myself. I pulled myself together. I taking care of my kids, and I was doing okay. And I'd got this weird speaking gig as the keynote speaker at a conference in a big hotel on a beach in Mauritius. And I was VIP down there, and I was advising the government. I found myself advising the Mauritian government. I thought it was hilarious at the time. And I was speaking to 600 barristers in Mauritius as the keynote speaker, and the whole system broke down. So I couldn't do a presentation. So I had to ad lib to this crowd of barristers. And cut a long story short, I got my mojo back. And, you know, I made them all laugh, and I was like, there were queues of people trying to speak. And I was like, oh God, I'm actually all right. I thought my life was over, but then suddenly it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And as I got on the plane to fly back, I remember somebody pointed a temperature gun at my forehead, and I was like, what the hell was that? What's going on? And then when I stopped in Paris airport, I remember seeing the mask starting to appear. And I had this very, very, it's really, is that me? That's not me. It's not a religious experience, but a spiritual experience where basically I got told start a channel on YouTube. And I remember saying, I was being nagged to start a channel on YouTube, and I was like, what am I going to talk about? And I just kept getting told, just do it. You've actually been at this your whole life. And then, so I was on a road trip with my son, and I gave him the phone. I said, film me. And he said, what for? I said, I don't know, just film me. And it was really, in a bizarre sense of irony, I was in the west of Ireland on a road trip, and I just happened to do this in Limerick, outside the Masonic Centre on the bridge. And Limerick is the town where my nan was taken out of in 1916 as a baby, and we still don't know why. And it was and it's just been a series of synchronicities and learning to trust your inner guidance and your voice. And basically I had no choice, and it's 5 years later, and here we are. I don't know if I answered the question very well.
Yeah, you just blew my mind too with Limerick. Janine and I, for some reason, we had this whole thing about Limerick coming up in our field of view, not knowing why, just before the Beyond Mystic conference. And people were telling us about the city itself, some of the folklore associated to it. And now you're mentioning that as being part also in this weird, cacophony of events that made you who you are today. That's fascinating. That could be a whole other show, but guys in the live chat, if you remember this Limerick thing, let us know. Now, you mentioned a couple of things here that Janine and I's ears are perked on when we talked about your trajectory. You were basically getting challenged by universe to see some things that are and to question your reality. And the more you started questioning, going down that route, you were making sacrifice after sacrifice of perhaps losing your friends, not being invited to dinner parties. So when we got to COVID and where we were ostracized by the whole community, we were kind of used to it already by then. But let me just backtrack a little bit here. You talked about the difficulty with your marriage, the drinking at the time. Was this part the struggle of divorcing yourself of the view of the old reality you think you knew versus the new one that made you basically a black sheep to your family and friends? Or is there more happening at the same time? I just want to get a feel to how that came about, Mark.
Well, I wrote a book last year with my friend Abby called Weapons of Mass Protection, and the book is called Practical Tools for Spiritual Warfare. And the reason what I wrote about in that book was basically I was under demonic attack my whole life. I think everybody has been demonically possessed or controlled to some degree. That's the thing that we're actually waking up from, fourth dimensional entities having full control over the human race to feed off us, right? So that was happening to me. My earliest memory was demons trying to recruit me in my bedroom in 1973 when there was a miners' strike in the UK and the electricity was off for 4 days a week. And that was it was normal. I was speaking to spirits and demons from a very early age. And then I kind of started growing up and it was just every single thing. I mean, one of the most amazing things about COVID, and by the way, I think COVID is the best thing that's ever happened to humanity. One of the best things that's happened for me is that I've done a full life review, and it just comes in, and then I go, I have to process that. And I've seen all of these points in my life where I've been placed in situations were very close to dark forces all the time. I mean, the village I grew up in, was called Budbrook in Northamptonshire in England, and there was a cult that was growing around me. I mean, massively growing really fast, became a multi-million-dollar cult very quickly. And it was started by a paedophile who was the lay preacher at the local church. And it turns out he'd abused my dad when he was a 10-year-old choir boy. So I was in the midst of this cult. So I've got a very acute radar for cults because of this. And that cult actually closed down 2 years before COVID because of the sheer volume of pedophilic lawsuits against them, because all the kids were abused. It was a satanic organization, but it was called the Jesus Fellowship and then the Jesus Army. And then, you know, I was in the Air Force. I met Prince Philip. I met a few other people while I was there. 2 of my friends committed suicide in there, and I saw them cover that up. And then I realized, oh, the government's lying about stuff, because I remember being in the officers' mess in Germany, and Margaret Thatcher, or Michael Thatcher, as I like to call him, was on the front page of the Daily Telegraph saying no nuclear weapons outside of the UK. And I was flying over silos every day, and I was like, hang on, they're lying. And then 9/11, and then, you know, all this. And then I was involved in a legal case against which involved the Catholic Church and 50 abuse victims over many, many years. And I saw the way that there was a controlled demolition of that. I also worked at the Daily Telegraph, funnily enough, as a journalist for a bit. So I was next to Max Hastings, who was a big Satanist. I was always close to them at quite a high level my whole life. And I think by the time what I think was happening in 2012 to 2017 was massive demonic attacks. So it wasn't a case of me divorcing the 3D and you know, that world. And my wife at the time was very astute and intelligent and on top of a lot of this information as well, which led to us, you know, having the first all natural birth of twins in Britain in 40 years. Wow. and things like that. So we'd actually been on quite a big journey, but I think we were basically under massive demonic attack, because what I've learned is they know who we are before we even get here. So we'll do deals to get in here because we're here for this time. And I don't just mean me, I mean, there's lots of us. And that's what we're here for.
We're in a spiritual war,
yeah.
And we're in a spiritual temporal war, and we're being tracked through time as we come back in. And this explains a lot of the walk-ins and some of the incognito souls that are coming out. And just about when some of these incognito souls are about to go live is usually when we see a lot of these demonic attacks. That's why I was asking that question. Where we're going. Do you mind? This is going to be a personal question for Janine to pull a card on that very topic. Do you mind if we do that live? Is that okay with you? Okay. So Janine, my question is here: was Mark being targeted, so to speak, with these attacks for a number of years here, directly in such a way to prevent him from perhaps becoming the person he is today, and him having the effect he is on global awakening as he's had? And of course, the culmination of his YouTube channels being deleted is an indication of that as well, just as we all wear that badge here, both you and I, Janine. But was he being targeted specifically for that reason, to perhaps taking off his original soul mission here?
Very interesting. It kind of looks like he was in more cognito than he thought he was.
Yeah.
Weird. And there might have been a woman close to him who was being targeted. And that woman might have led them to him. But he himself actually was really good at staying under the radar spiritually, even though he might not have been even knowing he was doing that. So what was that, your wife at the time or somebody else? There was a woman that they were tracking, and you were actually more under the radar until you aligned with that woman.
I don't know. I
Isn't that
mean,
interesting? Hey?
Hmm.
Water sign, or very emotional, like really in touch with their emotions.
definitely not my ex-wife.
Okay, somebody else.
Somebody
Yeah.
at work, perhaps.
Interesting. Yeah, because then they spotted you, and then I get, okay, now they're really coming for you here. So let's ask about what time was that in your life, because I might be meaning as a child. So
Right,
maybe
right.
you came in and you were incognito, and then they got onto you when they were tracking a woman and then spotted you.
Right.
Oh yeah, so you were young. You would have been about 6 when they really started onto you. So it wasn't from pre-birth or anything from what I'm getting. You were okay up until about 6, and then they were onto you. Who was, I guess your mom was close to you, one of your like a grandmother? Like, did you have
A nanny?
a woman that was maybe along the lines of how you think or anything?
I'm trying to remember. You know, I was close to my grandparents and my great-grandparents. I had quite a few of them, but I'll have to ponder that one, Janine.
Yeah. Anyway, they needed to they even tried to take you out.
Yeah.
Like death, they were going to try to take you out a few times there.
Well, I nearly died of meningitis when I was about 7 or 8.
That's the same time frame she's talking about. Wow.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Nearly died in a plane, and I was in intensive care when 9/11 happened as well.
Whoa. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Mark?
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Janine. Go ahead.
Well, they definitely tracked him for most of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Looking at that poll and that question, I have somebody in the driveway. Janine, can you take over the microphone, chit chat for a little bit? I'm going to see
Sure.
who's knocking on my door. My blog's about to go ballistic here. I'll be right back.
Mark and I know how to chit chat. Hey, Mark.
Okay, what John Claude gets deliveries the same as you. What is it with you guys? You always get deliveries.
It's a Canadian thing.
It's a Canadian thing.
Canadian thing.
I just had 2 Canadians here this weekend. You'd have liked them. Craig Campbell. Craig Campbell, look him up, comedian, and Alex Lazareff, another one. Alex was viral in 2020 because he was megaphoning in Canada, "Don't get the jabs," and somebody threw a bike at him, and the video went viral. So everybody knows.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, they were.
Wow.
They were here.
Yeah. But, did you do some shows with them?
We were going to do a comedy show, but you know, it's very difficult to put a comedy show on anywhere when it's not woke, and you know, 90% of the audience has gone if you're not towing the line, and it's just it's a very strange place. You know, you've been to this town. It's a very strange place.
Yeah.
It's too small to put on a comedy night with awake comedians. We'd have had 5 or 6 people there, so we were going to do that, but then they just came and used the censor, and we chilled. We hung out for a bit, and yeah.
Good.
So no.
Have you seen Abby lately?
We're publishing a new book this week about Q, and so
I thought I heard a rumor like that. Awesome.
Yeah, we've been working on that. We haven't physically seen each other since the event, Rebels Across the Pond event, but I'll see it before Christmas. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about the interruption. There's a delivery here, and my dog was just not too happy about it.
Every time I do a show with Mark, I get deliveries.
Yeah,
it's like literally, we brought a washer and dryer got brought in right in front of the camera.
Well, it is the afternoon for us. Typically, Janine and I do shows at 8 o'clock at night. We don't usually get interrupted at that time, but during the day, there's always people. Mark, so thank you for that, and thank you for being candid about that, because that brings me to the next segment here. As you became a YouTuber, you said you were guided in so many ways here, and you had that calling, and you just got into it. When you started that first YouTube channel and finally was using that voice and seeing the audience members respond to you, How did that make you feel coming out of perhaps some of those just previous demonic attacks? Did you feel that that had been quelled or assuaged to some extent? Did you feel that it was a balance effect at that point? Like, how were you in that first YouTube channel before deletion here? How were you feeling in terms of your soul mission and where you were at in your life at that point?
Well, to be honest, I'd never felt more alive or aligned ever. And, you know, and I do remember going on, I think it was Charlie Ward's show, and it just came out of my mouth about the demons. And at the end of the show, you know, when you do, I was quite nervous at the beginning, and my voice was higher, and I was speaking much too quickly, and I was, you know, it was like just being pushed onto the stage, and you just got to keep talking. It's one of those things. And I remember at the end of that show, and I came off and I was slapping my head going, oh my God, I've just been online talking about demons. I am ruined. Because at the time I still had a business.
Right.
But my biggest concern was that I would lose my clients and lose my income and wouldn't be able to pay, you know, afford to look after my kids. That was the main thing I was concerned about. But at the same time, I knew, because of all, I mean, I've done hundreds of thousands of hours of conspiracy research over 30 years, not a few thousand. I'd already knew this was coming, and I was kind of a little bit nihilistic about it happening. But I am an apocalyptic optimist. I totally know that it's going to be a good outcome, even though it looks like the world's falling to shit. But I do remember very clearly I had to ask myself a question, and the question was, I knew what was happening to some degree. I knew all about Q, and I got an interesting story about Trump as well. But at the same time, it was like a new world order plan coming in, and I knew part of that plan was that people like me would have dots put on the door, and we'd be rounded up and shot or guillotined. And I had to ask myself the question, am I willing to die for this? And the answer was yes, because I didn't want my children or anybody else's children to grow up in the New World Order. And I knew all about the size of the satanic ritual abuse. And I just being in this world, when you have that knowledge, you got to do something, right? And I was too old to storm Parliament with a machine gun, and I wouldn't have achieved anything. So I thought, well, I'll just write some poems and tell some jokes and see if I can keep people chipper. Because my job, I don't think, was to wake people up, because I was already wide awake for years. I already knew all the conspiracies. I wasn't one of those new to the scene people that were going, oh, I've just found out this, and the RV's coming and the med beds are coming and all that stuff. That wasn't me. My thing was to, and I didn't realize this at the time, but I found it out when I was in America, when I met Janine. And that was, a lot of people were very, very isolated at that time, and all they had was the TV or the internet. And it was really just to say, look, it's going to be okay. Hold on. You're not the only one. You're not the only crazy one who sees UFOs, spirits and ghosts and knows this is a spiritual. You're not the only one, because that isolation was a big part of the strategy at the time. And I didn't realize how impactful that had been until I started meeting people in America, especially. So yeah, I think, does that answer the question?
Yes. And Janine and I felt the same way too, because here in Canada, we were being told that we were the fringe minority, when in fact, when we met people at the conference, they were saying, oh my God, thank you. I felt alone and isolated. And that was a big part of the draw for how this community coalesced together. And also a big part of Janine and I knowing that we were doing exactly what we were supposed to do, right? At that point, just beginning here on our YouTube channels. Now, you just mentioned also going through this process and having basically the how do you say it? You had thousands of hours of conspiracy work and research under your belt. For me, it was more like I started in 2008, I believe. I started watching, I think it was Loose Change was one of the first documentary, and I just went down the rabbit hole for 10 years, doing this almost full time. And during that whole process, losing friends and families and not being invited anywhere. I used to be a lobbyist on Parliament Hill. Like that whole life changed and completely disappeared. And then when I got the YouTube channel like you, I thought, okay, all that was for a reason. I can have a conversation about all of these topics and bring people to the understanding here that we are in this spiritual war. So my question is to you now, You've done all the research. Finally, you have a platform. You feel energized, more lively than perhaps any time. And then suddenly you see your first YouTube channel being deleted. What was the conversation like in the morning of, what the fuck just happened? I thought I was on my soul mission. I thought I was on my queue. I did all of this, all sacrifices to get here. And now suddenly the universe is telling me I can't play ball. What was your reaction that first day on that first YouTube channel deletion?
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, it was about 30,000 subscribers, and I think it was Gali Lucy I'd interviewed, and I put it up as she's a mystic from Israel, and I put it up as a premiere, and I sat down with a bottle of wine to watch it on the TV, and I was like, really, because I thought it was a good show, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy this one, because by that point I was rolling with it. And it was like 10 minutes in, and then the whole screen just went blank. And I was like, what? And I thought it was the TV. I thought it was check the internet. And then I was like, the whole channel's gone. It was so unbelievable. There were no warnings, nothing. It just took the whole thing down. And that was the same period of time where the fuel lines on my car were cut. And the only reason we didn't blow up with 2 children in it is because a guy pulled up next to me on the motorway and told me there was fuel gushing out of it, and so I knew that they had a pop at me that way. And then it's just been 5 years of learning how to deal with hexes and spells and witches and infiltrators and monitor demons and demons everywhere, and at the same time seeing flying dragons and UFOs and meeting amazing people. It's like, it's amazing, so I was like, okay. In the old days, because I used to teach internet marketing, that was my job before. So I was well known for being able to get anything to the top of Google. And I knew that when I was doing what I was doing, I was like, I cannot do any of that. I cannot use any SEO. I can't do any of that stuff because you'll be found out and it will look as if you cheat. And I thought, it's got to be organic. It's got to be organic. And I didn't chase the numbers. I didn't chase anything. I was just like, I'm just going to speak. And I'm going to speak to people that know more about stuff than me. And if people resonate with it, they resonate with it. I mean, it was a very strange thing. And then you saw these other people popping up. I was laughing the other day because I used to listen to Janine 5 years ago. And I was just laughing. I was like, oh, shit, she's been to Boyle. That's mental. I used to listen to her. So it's that kind of, it's just been really amazing, actually. But to answer that question specifically, when that first channel went down, I was like, oh my God, if that had happened, if I was doing that as my life business, my thing, that would have devastated me. Absolutely devastated me. But I knew that we were being taken down for a reason. I knew instinctivly that it was all to do with consciousness and things were being manipulated. I didn't necessarily think it was the bad guys, actually. I just thought, right, what am I going to do? Well, I'm just going to get up and start again. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did, and then it happened again. But it also happened with PayPal, Facebook. I've been locked out of Facebook for 3 years now, which has been a real blessing, actually. I didn't use. I had a Twitter account since 2008, but I didn't use it again until nearly 2.5 years ago when I got told to. I got told, go make a short video on Twitter telling the vaccinated that we're here for them. And we know they were dupes, and I got told it'd get 1 million views, and when it gets to 1 million views, things are going to shift. And currently it's on 1.7, which I think is a very interesting number. Million views. So, and none of it means anything to me because I've already been through the ego stuff. I've been through plant medicine, ego deaths. I was making TV shows 30 years ago as well. I've already been through that, kind of on the way to being well known, and then going through that whole process. None of it means anything to me. Money doesn't mean anything to me. All I care about is living in a world where children don't get raped, and there's some equitable. We're not living the life we should be living, and I want to see that through. I want to see us get to the point where we are.
Right. Now, a month or so ago, YouTube and Google came out with the apology letter. This is a result of the $25 million settlement with Donald Trump for wrongly taking him off the channel. In that letter, they explained that they had been forced by the Biden administration to censor people without due process. And so we're getting some insights as to perhaps what happened in those last 5 years. As you say, Janine and I were also terminated without notices. So it's not like they gave us a chance. We had a chance to correct or change or no. It's just like, boom, you're not there. And I had this big placard on my YouTube channel that said, this channel has been deleted for severe multiple offenses or something like that. I'm like, my children are looking at this. They think I'm a horrible dad. And I couldn't fathom what had just happened. And again, thinking, oh, like you, I'm on mission now. I'm doing my work. And then like you, I said, oh, I have to start again. And this was just a test. And little did I know that this deletion would eventually make me even bigger and stronger had I accepted the challenge to reboot and start again. Because a lot of YouTubers at that point just said, okay, we're packing it up, we're going back to our day job, this is too complicated. And so we've lost a lot of those voices. But now I'm very interested in where we're going now. So you've just regained both of your first 2 YouTube channels. I saw you did videos. I have the links down in the description box for the audience members who want to go check them out. But why do you think this is happening now, Mark? On the spiritual warfare part of you, I've explained that on 3D, they're talking about this lawsuit with Trump, which perhaps there was a backroom deal here to reinstate some of those YouTubers who were rightly questioning the election integrity and rightly questioning whether or not these experimental mRNA jabs were actually safe and effective for the population. That was our biggest crime, was asking questions at the time. But now we're being told that we can come back to YouTube and that they won't do it again, quote unquote, is the letter that they sent out. Do you trust that? And why do you think it's happening right now? What's your thought?
No, I don't trust it. But I also don't care. So it's kind of like, I'm like, well, it is what it is today. It could be something else tomorrow. Why it's happening, I don't know. There's lots of different ways of answering that. I mean, I just said, I think I've always got the impression that there's kind of like this whole battle has been run on consciousness and it's multidimensional. So whatever's playing out down here where we are now has already played out up there. And I think I'm taking it as a positive sign, but I am an optimist. So I do, there are people saying, oh, don't trust it, they're going to do. And I'm like, well, what difference does it make? I've had 5 years of not caring about whether they're there or not. So I'm, and I keep saying the same thing to people. I'm like, I know it's going to be okay. In a spiritual level, I know it is, and I've always known that. And for me, I don't actually want to know exactly what's going on most of the time, because it's a bit like seeing your Christmas presents before Christmas. I quite enjoy. I mean, of course, I want to see the cards and see what Janine says about stuff, and I do. It's a bit of fun, knowing that's going to happen, this is going to happen. But it's for me, there's a lot of energetic timeline shifting type stuff going on that I'm just dealing with on a daily basis. I mean, the energies are crazy, and I go through huge amounts behind the scenes just dealing with that, and I think. It's quite funny. I still feel a bit uncomfortable talking about some of this stuff sometimes, because it's like, well, I know we're going to be okay. And I know we're all points of light holding this web of consciousness and bringing it up and trying to bring as many people with us safely across the bridge. That's the way I see it. And I think that I'm personally taking it as a positive sign, although I'm a bit annoyed because I've now got 3 channels and I don't know what to do with
which one do I post on. Yeah.
Because I posted on the bigger one and it's like getting the same views as the other one. I'm like, well, and you kind of do get a little bit comfortable. So it's just another interesting development, which I'm going to watch with interest. But the reason why, and I think it's important to state this, because a lot of people say, well, screw YouTube. I even wrote a poem called Fuck YouTube, right? And that had millions of views. And, that I've never dared put it on YouTube because I know they'll just take me down straight away. But the point I was making to people when they said, "Oh, forget YouTube, you don't need to be there anyway," blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, that's actually where most of the people are that we're trying to reach. Because the thing with Rumble and stuff like that is you're preaching to the converted, everybody knows. And then we got into a kind of information loop where everybody's just repeating the same stuff. And not everybody, but there's like a lot of repetitive things going on. And then you get to the point where, well, is this a business? Because you have to survive, you have to thrive doing this as well at the same time. And I'm very much about abundance, so I always have been. So it's kind of weird because you're also dealing with constant trolls. And I mean, I had a very evil tweet the other day that made me go, oh God, wow, they're really still at it. But I'm taking it as a good sign. We're back on YouTube. Let's enjoy it. I'm still nervous about posting things because I did get a lot of strikes. Even in the last few months, I had videos taken down, or for medical misinformation. I got one taken down just for mentioning the turpentine protocol. I just mentioned it. I didn't say what it did. I didn't do it, and they take you off, and then you can't post anything for 2 weeks. So it's just constant cat and mouse, So I'll just take.
Well, you're cautiously optimistic. It's a good thing, but you also don't really trust. Not sure where this is going. I think Janine and I would echo that same sentiment, because on one hand, she's got her Sending Ravens channel back on. They haven't reinstated the Tarot by Janine, and they haven't reinstated my 2 previous YouTube channels either. And so every time I try to bring Janine on my YouTube channel, they delete it. They don't give me a strike. They just say, "Oh, it's out of bounds," or whatever they say. They delete me and Janine. A bunch of repeaters can take our video from our pay-per-views and put it on YouTube, no problem.
No problem.
But me and Janine live on the YouTube channel, it still doesn't work. So we're like, what the hell's on with that? But on the question of why now, and whether or not we should be cautiously optimistic, Janine and I talked about this the other day when she got her Sending Ravens back on one of her shows, and we were getting a little bit of flack from some of the audience members saying, "Fuck YouTube, don't go back, they're assholes, blah blah blah, they don't deserve you." I get that point of view, and I get that a lot of the audience are trying to save us and maybe protect Janine and us and me from having to go through the same devastating deletion process again. On the other hand, Janine and I do, like, you understand that YouTube is really the front line of the battlefield for all the souls. Like you said, as we're talking to people on Rumble, they're already converted. They're already on our side. And so in the last 5 years, what was the result of this a censorship program, which YouTube now and Google says it's because of the Biden administration? There was a void of these voices on the Normie land territory. So they had full reign to control and send out their propaganda without having the interruptions of the Mark Atwoods of the world. That now seemingly has changed. To what extent you will be able to have conversations on YouTube and not self-govern yourself and not use code words moving forward, we don't know. But still, the fact that we're here now and able to at least have this beginning of a new conversation on YouTube seems to me and to Janine that it's very positive. Now, do you think that it's timely? Do you think that it's against the timeline? Like, again, I want to get to the why now in this spiritual warfare. Did we just get a bump? Is this somehow a tactic maybe to round us up, to delete us up again? Like, a lot of people are worried about the timing of all of this, and we're trying to figure out how do we best use this if indeed it is an advantage for us to be on the front line again of this battle for the Normie land territory and narrative, Mark?
Well, like I said, I think it's a positive thing, and we make hay while the sun shines. And it is an indicator that it's got to be positive, hasn't it? I mean, what's the negative? There's no negative, is there? Mm-hmm. There is no negative. What can be the negative? Well, I think my point of view, when I said I don't care about it, is because I'm outcome independent about things like, my YouTube channel or the amount of subscribers and all that. I just don't care. I learned to not care about any of it because it doesn't matter. But if we can reach more people, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. If we're trying to get truth across about the genocide and the spiritual war and all this stuff, I think anecdotally, I deal with a lot of people around here, obviously, with the healing center, but I've noticed that there are people are definitely coming across the bridge. So I've always had an image in my head of a hand across a bridge, and they are starting to wake up. So maybe if it is, white hat driven, consciousness driven, maybe they've decided that actually the people that we didn't want you to reach before are now ready to hear from you. And I think that's probably what's happening.
Mm-hmm. So it's timely in the universe. Janine, do you want to pull on that? I think you and I have done this privately, but we haven't done that on the live shows. I think it's important to look at this now, the why now aspect of it, how it fits into the overall spiritual war effort. And we'll get into talk about your health initiative here too in just a moment, because it addresses what do we do now? Because now suddenly you have 3 YouTube channels. You have basically tools that were taken away from you from 5 years, which is, of course, your subscriber list, our impact on people, suddenly now was given back to us. Now, there's something funny about that as Janine's pulling the cards. I talked to Jordan Sather last week or 2 weeks ago. He also just got his YouTube channel. Joe, my friend Jason at 4, just got his back yesterday, the day before. But they're noticing the same thing, even though they have 100K subscribers, 200K subscribers, very low video counts, view counts on the new videos they've promoted. What's that all about? Are the algos?
I think that's an algorithm thing.
Right. So the algos are still sandboxing you, perhaps, on YouTube here. I don't know.
No, I don't think that's a censorship thing. I mean, it's the YouTube algorithm is based upon lots of factors, and one of which is how many posts is that you've got to. It's like you're starting from zero with a load of subscribers, but you're starting from zero. So the algorithm has to learn to trust you are a regular poster and it's good quality and people engage with it and share it and everything else in order to get your videos up. So I don't think I'm not paranoid about that particular thing, because that's the algorithm behaving exactly as it did pre-COVID.
Well, hold on. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying, but even me before COVID, I start to see a drop in views, even though my subscriber count was going up. And I thought, oh, they're sandboxing me to where they're not recommending me to other viewers who are not already my subscribers, right? I feel that might be what they're doing now. But at the same time, on the algo count, they've also told me both, and I'm not sure about yours, but Jason Ford and Jordan, and also Janine, their YouTube channels are no longer monetized. So they have to go back and jump through those same hoops as they originally did to get monetized. So that would suggest there's an algo thing happening in the background as well. So I'm curious about that. We'll have to watch it moving forward.
Yeah, it's a bit early.
Yeah. We'll know as we start doing more videos and we see that they don't compete as well, perhaps as your other channels, we might be able to decipher what's going on. So Janine, in terms of why now in the spiritual battle, what do we need to know?
Well, this is in the past, so I feel like a legal thing was signed to make it happen. So it could have been part of the deal with Trump or somebody else who had a legal battle with these guys. Okay, so they're afraid of legalities and they're afraid of more people suing, because that's literally like a legal card here. And that was in the past that led to, and now this is where it sits here. So I do feel like it'll take time for first of all, us to be able to post. This card takes time, and it says sort of it's a beginning, but it's good news. And it feels like spiritually, it's like the world's changing and there's something coming where more disclosure's coming. And I feel like we're being prepared spiritually to have a voice again. So I feel like we might get a resurge of like where we can talk on there and we can all jump back on, and it'll be maybe along the same time as when the movie gets revealed to the regulars, because this is a regular folks, or normies as we like to call them, and it's like the movie becomes clear even to them that they've been watching something like a movie or a theater or things playing out that have already happened, all the ways we talk about it. And I feel like they're going to need people to explain this. It'll be very scary for people, and I feel like on the other hand, part of this is spiritually, so we'll be able to jump on. But it all came about because of some legal things being signed.
That's fascinating. Okay. Janine, let me give you the opportunity here do you have questions and or comments for Mark? You've known him for longer than I have. You've done these tours with him. You've seen him grow with his YouTube channel being deleted and now back on here. Like, what do you think you want to ask Mark in terms of where he goes moving forward? Like, what would you say?
Well, like he said, he's got 3 channels, you said, Mark?
Yeah.
It's like spread thin. That's too thin. If you're anything like me, even if I got my Tarot by Janine and I've got my Sending Ravens, now I'm doing this, I almost feel like I don't have time to go over there now.
Yeah.
It's not as inspiring because I am worried that I'll get taken off, and I'm not going back to censoring myself. So I'm literally putting fluff on there and or really spiritual videos that I'm doing with Honey.
Yeah.
So Honey and I are not talking political on purpose, and we got a little show every 2 weeks. I'm not putting on deep dive Fridays that I'm doing with Ashley, and I'm definitely not putting the kind of news Jean-Claude and I do, or that I do on my own website. So to me, it's like uninspiring. So I'm wondering, could you lose a little oomph, just because you can't really be your full self? Or in your case, are you just going to do it anyway and see what happens, right?
Well, I've always just done it anyway. And it's like, I've got 3 channels now, so I could put a really controversial one up on a channel that I don't care, the one I care about the least.
Yeah.
See what happens. But I've let rip on. Twitter's been a great place in the last year and a half, and the other places, Rumble and Substack and stuff like that. But it is important to keep trying to reach people on YouTube, and I think it's an open door for us. And I'm just going to keep being me. I don't, like I said, I don't. The only thing that I care about is I know there's a lot of people on YouTube. Like my mum will only watch YouTube.
Yeah.
She won't go onto Rumble. She won't go onto Twitter. She's on YouTube. YouTube's on everybody's smart TV,
right?
Pre-built in. So if we're back there, it's part of the game, I think. And I honestly just think it's a positive thing. But your cards might say something else. They normally do. Don't know.
So far, it's relatively positive. There was nothing devastating. But let's get some clarification there, Janine.
It might be. I feel like we're moving in that direction. And like I was saying here, it looks like we're being prepared spiritually to really be able to all jump on there when the theater becomes obvious to everybody. So that could be when there's more exposure for even normies to know what's going on. Okay. And then they're going to need us on there. That's when I think, because there'll be a lot of fear, and we'll be able to go in there and use those channels. So I feel like we need to keep them and be prepared, because I think we're going to be called back over there.
Fascinating. Mark, I have a question for you. So over the course of the last number of years, Janine and I doing these shows, we felt, I guess by the nature of the world developing around us, that we had to change the focus of some of the content of our shows to answer the questions of our audience members. And as a YouTuber, we all go through that process of trying to balance what you want to put out in the world versus what your audience may be asking of you in terms of content. So there's always that balance. But we also had some negative content about other YouTubers, commentators, and in some cases, officialdom, quote unquote, coming to us to say, don't talk about this or don't talk about that. So there was that kind of push also, or bullying, or I won't go on your show if you keep interviewing Mark Atwood, for example, or stuff like that, right? That happens, and we've explained this to the audience. So we've all had to do our best to be authentic to who we were, what our mission was, and to respond to our audience's needs. So in the context of what do we do now, the fact that this appears now in the cards to be an opportunity for us, it's positive. It's still the frontline battle. It appears that there's a reversal of sorts here to where people are actually going to need our voices on YouTube. Contrary to what you've done in the past on YouTube, are you being called now to switch gears, either on content, on form, on format? What do you think is next for you on YouTube? What do you want to do now on YouTube, regardless of all these external forces?
I want to run a car channel.
A racing channel.
That's what I would do. I'd say if it wasn't for the spiritual war, I'd have a car channel. I'd talk about airplanes and cars all day. I mean, that's what I'd love to do. No, I'm not. Look, almost every single piece of content I've ever produced has been guided, and it's like, and even when it's been talking to somebody I know is not I don't agree with, or somebody that I don't necessarily trust, there's always been guided that I've got to do that, and I tried to do my best, and I just carry on following the guidance. I'm literally doing what I'm told, basically. So I don't have a material plan about what kind of content I'm going to produce. I just know that, and I do take guidance from the viewers and the subscribers as well. Sometimes they'll send me stuff. Sometimes a lot of it is rubbish, but sometimes I find people, and I'm following my own interest as much as anything else. I mean, my show was originally called Adventures in a Meat Suit because somebody funnily said once that we are spirits in meat suits, and I thought, well, you know, that's kind of what I am. And then it became a cosmic suit, and it is an adventure in a cosmic suit. It's my adventure in a cosmic suit, and I feel like I'm, you know, I take people along with me, and I share opinions for those who want to hear it. But I'm pretty good at interviewing, and I like pulling that, but only when I'm interested. Otherwise, you haven't got the energy for it. I mean, it's my energy is split between children, running a healing center, dealing with all the spiritual work that I do behind the scenes, writing books, publishing books. You know, I'm doing a lot of things, and you have to have the energy to be able to keep going. And if you start doing, if I started doing stuff that wasn't aligned with my mission, I mean, I think I can use that term. It wouldn't work.
Right.
So I'm just
have the passion and the wherewithal to pull it through.
I'm just ready for whatever's next. I mean, if we're on YouTube, I do think that it's a good thing, and I haven't quite, to be honest, I haven't thought it through that much. The channels only came back 5 days ago. Yeah. I mean, the second, what was interesting, I heard people were getting their YouTube channels back, and I started writing. I think I sent Tom Numbers a message going, "How'd you get your YouTube channel back?" And he said, "Just go and ask for it." And I was like, "Oh, really? You just asked for it back?" So I logged in. I didn't even think I had the old email. And you know, when it says, if you want to get your channel back, leave us a note. And in the note it said, "Why do you think we should reinstate you?" And I said, "Because I'm really nice and I'm just trying to tell people the truth." And I thought, send, that's never going to work. Next day I get an email saying, "We've reinstated you." Like, what the fuck? But then
that's hilarious, because Janine was super brutal on her
of course she was.
Yeah, I told them that they were like basically assholes to take it down in the first place, that all we were doing was telling truth, that it was literally illegal and immoral what they did and blah, blah, blah. I was brutal. And then I sent it off. Like, who cares? Who gives a shit? Like, I don't even care, because they probably won't give it to me anyway. And then I got a thing back. So it's obviously AI. And all they care about is that you took the time to send something.
Yeah. I don't know. Something. So on that note, Mark, I also was asking my friends, well, how do you get it back? Well, we just appeal again, because they had appealed way back when, 5 years when they got deleted. I had appealed at the time too. For some reason, there's something weird with my 2 YouTube channels. So here's a screenshot of the first one. That's the first Beyond Mystic channel.
So that one's not back yet.
When I get it, this is the only thing when I log in I see, and it says I'm no longer allowed to appeal. I don't have the option to appeal. And on the second YouTube channel, here's Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic 2, same thing. You can no longer appeal. So I'm not sure why that's different than you guys, where you still had the option when you log in to appeal again. I don't know. Interesting to say the least, but we'll see in the next couple of weeks and months here how that develops. Now, going back to what do we do now? You and I, Mark and Janine, were, by the essence of the world developing around us, forced into the conversation of the jabs, the mRNA products. We were forced into the election steal in the United States. This was affecting everybody around the world, and we were rightfully asking questions there. Do you feel in that tower cord moment in the middle of Janine's spread there that might be the infamous Nuremberg Trials 2.0 just coming around the corner, as we're seeing more and more of the evidence here of the new peer-reviewed studies that show all of the damaging effects of the vaccines, and some of the questions now being brought to those who brought them upon us and who lied to the population, all that. Do you feel that this is just around the corner, and that perhaps might be part of what we do next is, you know, as trusted voices now in the last 5 years, we were right to be on the stage here to look at and maybe report on these Nuremberg Trials 2.0. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's a film coming out in a couple of weeks. It's called Nuremberg, isn't there, with Russell Crowe, and there's no accidents there. And it would tie into. I mean, I had when I started the YouTube channel, I'd say to my kids, they were embarrassed about me at the time. They're all quite young, and I said, "You wait. One day they'll be queuing round the corner, asking me what's going on." And that's been quite interesting over the last 5 years, because the kids have grown up, not just my kids, but their friends, and their friends would say, "Well, if you want to know what's going on, go and ask Mark." And I'm like, well, I became cooler because of my kids' friends rather than my kids themselves. But originally, it was really embarrassing for them. They were just so embarrassed, and they stopped me protesting outside the school and things like that. Yeah, I think we are. I mean, if you look at the Q posts, you've got things like Suicide Weekend coming up. I think that's going to happen. You are the news now, which is what we've proven to be in the last 5 years, and nothing can stop what's coming. And all of these things kind of add up. It's kind of like, I don't know whether, I mean, on one hand, like I said, I don't take it too seriously because I don't want to be like Pavlov's dogs, right? Where you get things taken away and then things given back to you just to keep you. If you emotionally respond to that, then you become you become controllable, and I'm not controllable. You cannot control. So therefore, I'm just not going to give them my emotion. I'm just going to see what unfolds, and I'm ready for it. You know, whatever. If I'm called upon to share my story, or because that's all we can do really, a bit of knowledge, but share stories about what's really been going on to people that are ready to listen, and then we've suddenly got access to them. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, we're already at the 56-minute mark. I told you we were trying to gun for an hour here.
You said 4.
I wanted to talk. What's that?
You said 4. I'm ready for the night.
I can if you want to. Let me ask you about this health initiative. Let me bring this back up. Live5dhealth.com, folks, is the website here. You've mentioned it a couple of times during the show. Again, in the what do we do now, how do you see using perhaps these new tools that are now given back to you, to subscribers here on YouTube, to further along this mission and this health initiative moving forward? What is this you're already involved in, and how do you see this perhaps growing here in the next couple of weeks and months and years, Mark?
Well, you know, big part of what I've been doing in the last 5 years is I've been interviewing a lot of people about a lot of things, especially to do with health, right? So, and I'd already been on that path myself because of the amount of times I've nearly died and the old journeys I've been through with diets and, you know, exercise and being ill and all of that kind of recovering from things. And I basically, when about 3 years ago, a friend of mine who'd had a load of jabs, and I told him, you've got to sort that out. This is what you got to do. He laughed at me. I said, you're going to drop dead. And he laughed at me, and then he dropped dead. And he was about 39. And I was like, that around that time, I just got a message. I got a message in my head that was like, which is a Q post, you have more than you know. And now I never saw Q as like waiting for a savior. I saw it as just, you know, deeply spiritual, biblical even. And that message to me, you have more than you know, really hit home with me, because one thing that was frustrating me a lot at the time, and I've mentioned the RV and the med beds already, was that those two things in particular were annoying me, because they were like carrots being dangled and leading people to inaction about their own health and their own wealth. Right? Because I do believe there will be an RV, and I think the medbed technology exists, but it's not here now. So what are you going to do today? And I'm very pragmatic. So I basically went, okay, well, I think we need to open it. Well, I got told, go and open a healing center. So I went to see my friend Gary, and I said, do you want to open a healing center? And that we opened 2 hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and we started there 2.5 years ago. Since then, we've helped over 2,000 people in this place. We've run retreats. We've got 850 franchise inquiries, which is nuts. And what the vision I got was that if the good guys come in tomorrow and the RV happens and the med beds are here, none of this is necessary. But right now, people are dying today. What can I do about it with the knowledge that I have and the contacts that I have? So we set this place up to be as a private members association as well. So it's not a limited company. It's not run as a business. It's run, you know, if an autistic child comes with a mother on benefits and can't afford the treatment, it's free. You know, people can use the treatments for free if they genuinely can't afford it. And the ones that can afford it, they pay for it, etc. So it's been an amazing journey for me personally, because I got when I start, you know, part of my spiritual journey, as with most people, I came across the work of Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon, I've, you know, said at this time, if you're about 50 years old, you're a bridge. And I was talking about this on the podcast quite a lot, being a bridge, I'm in my 50s, I'm a warrior, but it's like a warrior and a healer, right? And the healing sort of started taking over from the warrior bit. And I was like, if you told me I'd have a healing center as a business 5 years ago, I'd have laughed at you. That'd be ridiculous. But actually, what I've brought to the table is quite interesting. And very powerful, because we've stopped so many people going to hospital. We've reversed so many vaccine injuries. We've helped educate so many people. Not in the US yet, JTAR, no, but we've been trying to do all of this in the private as well, which is like a big part of sovereignty. So for me, it's all about sovereignty, health sovereignty, wealth sovereignty, abundance. We're the creators, all of that stuff. And I'm just trying to show people that it can be done. Because I kept meeting people who said, I'm not doing anything about my health because the med beds are going to be here next week. And I'd be like, are you mental? What are you doing? And then I meet other people saying, oh, we're opening 100 healing centers next week. I was like, how are you doing that? Well, the RV's coming. We're going to have £1 billion. And then nothing happens. And I'm like, well, I'm just seeing a load of people frozen like rabbits in headlights. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do it. And I'm just going to... I didn't care. I was like, I've got my friend. He doesn't care. Let's just open a place and see what happens. And, the idea is really that if it goes back to Buckminster Fuller's quote from the 1950s. You don't fight the system. You build the system you want to see. So what we've tried to do here is create a flagship place, which is all based on replicating nature. So you're not going to see any newfangled stuff in here. There's no EE machine in here. I don't like that. There's no new thing. There's things like the harmonic egg, which are great, but the thing is you can't build a business on them, firstly, and you have to run it as a business. Because I kept seeing other things. Like, I was on a call actually before this show with my friend Catherine McBean, who sets up the People's Health Alliance in the UK, which is spread around the world. It's a great idea, which is like, give people somewhere else to go except for the National Health Service to get health advice, and here's a range of holistic healers. But the problem with it is that, and I said this to them 3 years ago on a call, I said, you're going to have, whichever way you look at it, we're still in a financial system, things still have to make money. If you have volunteers, they still need to be paid money because they're giving up all their time, and you're going to have volunteer fatigue. And if you're relying upon donors from the outside, you're going to have donor fatigue over time. So you have to create something that actually is self-sustainable and self-funding. So you have to run it like a business. Unfortunately, I'm an internet marketing expert, so I know how to get new clients into the thing, apart from having the podcast to bring people in and making it appealing to people that don't understand these technologies. And we're in the farming community in the west of Ireland, and believe me, most of these technologies are complete science fiction to most of them. But we've built a sauna because everybody understands a sauna. We've got a UV bed, which is actually healthy, but they know it as a sunbed, and they want to use that because it's dark and cold here. And I call that by stealth. So we've got, as a healing center, it's the only place in the world with all of the things that we've got under one roof. I mean, even the walls emit chi energy because we've got somatid mixed in with the paint, which means you're healing as soon as you're in there. And we've got old Tesla machines, we've got neuro stim machines, but we've got the stuff like red light, PEMF, and hyperbaric oxygen, because that's the superhuman protocol, which is the thing. Everything that we're doing is about cleansing the cells, energizing the cells, activating the mitochondria, getting the cells to talk to each other, which doesn't heal anything, but it allows the body to be clear of all the toxins, because nobody's sick, they're toxic, and there's no such thing as disease. It's just dis-ease with labels put on for over-toxification. And instead of so a big part of this is education, and a big part of what we're doing now is based around the water. And, everybody watching this show should make sure they're drinking completely clean water that is brought to life, and add hydrogen if you can, and definitely have Celtic sea salt or this simple stuff, and I didn't know this 4 years ago, that you shouldn't drink water without salt, but now I do, and it changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. More energy than a Duracell bunny. I've been up working since 4 a.m. I could go for another 4 hours tonight, and it's crazy.
Let's do it.
Trying to cram all that in, because that's what it's about, and and it's a very inspirational thing to do. But the other crazy thing is that the virtual trolls that attack me over the last 5 years are physical, and they're here, you know. And it's like, well, you open up a physical place, then you get the physical trolls, you know. When Janine was at the event here recently, there was a woman outside saying Mark Atwood's a fascist event, blah blah blah, holding a bottle of bleach. That was their protest against us healing people. They tried to say that a poet who written a book called God Wins, who heals people, is a fascist. And it's like hilarious, actually, you know. But as a business, they've cost us a fortune, because they get our adverts closed down, they get people, they tell people things about us so that nobody comes. They daren't come. They think it's too expensive. They think it's a money laundering operation.
Right.
They think it's a grift. You have to run things as a business, otherwise it's not going to be sustainable. And if you could create a network of decentralized but hierarchical in a kind of benign dictatorship sort of model, then you've got a way forward to build a health system that could work. You know, if this place makes enough money, then we could, you know, because I do think there are elements of the allopathic world that we can't get rid of, and we don't want to get rid of. But we need an A&E where they're not going to vaccinate as soon as you go in. They're going to see you straight away. I mean, I want to bring barefoot doctors from ancient China into the future, so that we're going, I'm making house calls. Jean-Claude, I am making house calls with a Tesla machine in one hand, a dolphin machine in another, my water crystals and everything at the back. I'm going to see people at home like a bloody doctor. It's hilarious. And trying to, you know, get people back on the track, because they've got a lot of toxins in them, especially this, but everything. So there you go. That's what it's about.
I love it. Thank you, Mark. Guys, the website, again, links in the description box below, live5dhealth.com. You can find more information there, and the locations that are near you. Now, Mark, you said a few things here that struck me also. So on the healing part, the medbed parts, Janine and I got so much shit 5 years ago because they were hearing from other YouTubes, the med beds, people are in line this weekend, they're going to test it out here, GC, like everything's going to be solved. And every time Janine pulled cards on this, like, yeah, no, they're not here yet. You need to become the CEO of your own health. And people did not want to hear that. I hope they did 5 years ago, because here we are 5 years later, the med beds are still not here. And as you said, people are dying. So I applaud you for this, Mark. It's about doing what you can now. And everybody's actions count. One man can make a difference, as you are right now. So thank you for that. On the second part, maybe this is on a bigger overarching mission. You talked about your mission here today. Do you understand and believe that perhaps part of that mission is encouraging? You said you were a bridge, and that kind of struck my ear. Do you believe that you are also somehow, directly or indirectly, involved in creating the new Mark Atwoods of the world to kind of take over that baton and grow this army of truth and enlighten around the world? And if so, what is your call to action to the people watching the show here tonight?
Oh, well, it's not everybody can get up on YouTube and do this. Not everybody has the resources to do that, or the wherewithal to do that. I think it's, you know, I got asked this question 10 years ago by somebody on Facebook when I was going on about, you know, satanic ritual abuse, New World Order, all of that. And they were like, well, what are we going to do? And I had to think about it 10 years ago. And it's the same answer. Take your shoes off, ground, walk in nature, look at the sun, eat good natural food. I mean, that's basically... And be kind. If you open a door for somebody, pick up a piece of litter, go and see your neighbor, look after somebody. Just be, because that has a massive effect. You know, it's quantum, right? So what they tried to do is make us terrified, scared, stay inside, not socialize, not touch anybody, not hug anybody, not go anywhere, wear a mask, be afraid, we got to do the opposite of that, because that really is the war, and we're winning it. We've won it. You know, we're a tidal wave of authenticity and love. They're the two most powerful energies in the universe. So let's just keep doing that. And it doesn't, you know, it's not a competition. You know, it's not like, well, you went on YouTube. I hate all that. Oh, you're so brave. I'm not brave. I just don't want my kids to live in that world. That's not bravery. That's just being a dad, as far as I'm concerned, and being a dad for hundreds, thousands of people instead of 5, whatever it takes. I mean, I don't think I'm anything special, but I do think that I do have a kind of an ability to talk a lot, and and get shit done. So I think it's just a question of that, and it's like we've got to be very careful that we don't idolize anybody, and we got to get away from all of that. That was all the satanic agenda, and that is like the spiritual journey that we're all on, and we're all at different levels with it. Again, there's no competition. We're all at different levels, and I will listen to any wise guru and take what I need and then ignore them, because it's not about that, and I'd be very happy to just quietly fade away and everything turn. But it's at the moment we're still in the, I wouldn't quietly fade away. I'd set up my car channel and aeroplane channel, but I'd enjoy that much more. But we're still in the middle of this battle, and we are all playing a part in it. I think your audience, my audience, there's a lot of crossover as well. Everybody's playing a part. So there's my word to the audience is like, just keep doing what you're doing. And even if it's like, I know there's a lot of people out there that are introverted people who've been hurt a lot and abused a lot by life because of who they are, but they're doing meditation, they're working with the monad, they are doing amazing work that nobody would ever know about, but I recognize them, and I appreciate them, and I appreciate everybody that's stood up to tyranny and done anything. Just standing up to tyranny, just saying no is phenomenal, and it's a world changing word. So my hats off to everybody that's got this far. Really, is what I'd say.
Bravo, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. So, Mark, before I ask Janine here for the closing remarks, a lot of people in the chat were asking about your story about Trump, about Q, and another person just said, "Hey, we need to have Mark on to talk about what's happening in the UK." Could we perhaps do a part 2 of this maybe next Tuesday? Are you available to get to some of those questions here? Because I know today's question was more about the censorship and what do we do now. But would you be available maybe next week for part 2?
Yeah, I'm always. Yeah, look, I'm just very. To be honest, I was very touched that you asked me on, and I know Janine. I don't know you very well, and I think you've done a great job. Amazing job, the two of you and everybody that's been involved with all the Beyond Mystic stuff. So I was just pleased to be here today. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I'll come on. Yeah, you just invite me, and if I can come on, I'll come on. Yeah.
Well, I am absolutely honored that you're on the show here tonight, and you took the time to share your story and to be here with the Beyond Mystic audience. I think you've made a difference already. I could see, just looking at where you're going now, your attitude about just getting shit done. We need more people like that. And part of the reason I wanted to have you all on the show tonight was to look at some of these YouTubers, as I did with some other ones, to give them the opportunities to maybe reboot that in a higher fashion. Because again, it could be that some of those algos, you got your YouTube channel, but you have to go jump through these hoops and you don't have full access to it yet. So I was like, okay, what can I do to make sure everybody knows that Mark is back? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, I'll be back. Well, Mark is back, guys. So check him out. All the YouTube channels links are below. Janine, before we go, anything particularly from the heart you want to speak to with respect to Mark, where he's going, and to the audience members, and or also do you perhaps want to pull from the cards to see what else the universe wants us to know about our collaboration, where Mark is going, and why people should really pay attention to the Mark Atwood show in the cosmic or meat suit, whatever suit he's wearing moving forward. Why should we pay attention, Janine?
In the cheap suit now.
In the cheap suit.
Cheap suit. I'll do a little bit of both, maybe.
Okay.
From the heart part, it's no mystery that Mark and I are friends. Like the energies, I don't know, maybe Mark won't agree, but I feel a real camaraderie.
Yeah.
When I'm on a show with him, he just lights me up, and I smile a lot, and it's fun. We have a lot of fun and silly laughs together, which I love.
Yeah.
He brings out the corny Taurus in me, and of course, he knows I'm a Taurus because I told him about 1 million times when I first met him. For some reason, I was
You were Taurus. I had no idea.
Rant. We spent hours and hours in the back of this car just killing ourselves laughing, talking about UFOs.
Well, we were being followed by UFOs.
We were being followed. Yeah. Like Mark would get a UFO feeling and we'd have to stop. We were being driven around by this lovely couple. I love those two. Right. Yeah. So they'd have to stop the car, and they were so patient you know, with the whole thing. And then we'd get out and I'd, you know, throw some cards and we'd figure out how many UFOs. Mark would see them above. We'd take a picture and then there they'd show up on the picture. I'd be getting like 3 or 4. Mark would take a photo in the pitch black. Boom, 3 or 4. Sure enough. So we worked well together as a team for UFO spotting. I think maybe that should be another YouTube channel, UFO spotting with Janine and Mark across, you know, Canada or US or Ireland or something.
Yeah. We have the time. Look at that.
Yeah, and Mark's really got me out. Like when I very first went to the US, when I did that first tour, okay, and I knew Mark was going to be on it, so that was really exciting for me because I'd been on some shows with Mark, and I thought it'd be really fun to meet him in person. But I hadn't really been off the couch, and that is for real.
I remember telling me you said yes because you said yes, one, because Mark was there, but 2, also you were afraid of leaving and having to, you know, be in front of all of these people. Maybe you weren't ready for the energy wise, so it was a big draw.
It was scary, and Mark actually really helped because I had never public speaked in that way, in live like that per se. Maybe I did 1 or 2 things on tarot, but I'd never just done. And I'm not a very good preparer, so I just like to wing it. And Mark helped me on my first couple of the first time I talked, I looked right at him and he helped me through it. And
you didn't
also
need any help.
Yeah, I did. And you gave me some pointers. That first one I didn't do so good, but then the second one I think I really nailed it. And then I got really good at it. And Mark, you were just really good at grounding me. I think you're really good that way with people because you are easy with the public, and you're a natural, and it's obvious you maybe spent lifetimes in the public eye, so you're not searching for fame, you're just a natural at it. You got charisma, you know, and then there's the awesome good looks.
Not today, I'm knackered.
Anyway,
I remember Janine calling me. I think you were in Texas, or maybe I forget which town you were in, and she says, Mark made me laugh so hard I peed my pants. So
for sure,
having a grand old time.
Oh yeah.
By the way, there's people asking if you want to come to our next Beyond Mystic conference. We're getting for next October.
Well, yeah,
Florida.
I think
You're
want
more
to
than welcome. I'd love to have you on the panel.
Well, I was looking at your hat jealously earlier, thinking maybe I should wear a hat like John Claude. That looks pretty cool on him. But then I realized I got a really fat face. It doesn't work on me. I can only wear a woolly hat. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on one about clothes now. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
All right, cool, very cool. Janine, so from the heart, yes, but also from the cards, how do you want to frame the question?
But by the way, you guys are both Aries. So I'm on a show with 2 Aries men, which is, I was wondering how they were going to get along, to be honest. I was like, ooh.
That's interesting. Also, I do see a lot of similarities in the way he speaks and his transition in his life, and also about the internet marketing and all that. I used to do internet marketing too. This was my job before. Well, after the politics, I did internet marketing, and then here, it all kind of tied in to what we're doing now. It's so fascinating how universe kind of conspires to bring us here. All right, Janine, how do you
males? We need more alpha males, and I've just admired you, and I've just seen you get on with it, and I'm like, great. These guys, and Janine's in good hands, and I was like, well, John Claude's doing a great job, brilliant, you crack on. It's been a bit like that. It's been a bit like, well, you're over there doing that, but you're over there and I'm doing my thing, and it's amazing, you know. And a lot of us have come together recently physically, and you know, doing things like this as well, which is great. And I've got a lot of respect for anybody that's managed to keep going actually and keep lifting people up, which is what you guys have done, and I applaud you for that. And because of that, I just have massive respect for both of you. Just because of that, you know, nothing else matters really. You know, it's like, well, you got up, you spoke out, you pulled it, you helped some thousands and thousands of people. Brilliant. You know, let's go and have a drink.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mark. I really do. Janine, last segment.
I think it'd be fun to get Mark and Jean-Claude in a pub together.
Are you sure it would?
I definitely want to be there.
No cameras allowed, though. We can get into some trouble, some serious trouble, I think.
Definitely.
Janine,
let's
how
see
do you
what
want
we
to
got.
frame? How do you want to frame the question for universe here?
What does the
you want?
universe want to say going forward to Mark
Okay.
around his mission, just around what's next? Is that okay, Mark?
Yeah, why not? I don't care. Go on.
Yeah. Is that okay,
I'm not
Jean-Claude? Are you good with
afraid.
that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's definitely one of the woo
Yeah.
and might have even been burned at the stake. Do you have any memories of being in the Inquisition times or
No, I remember eating a steak.
burned at the
Oh,
stake?
burned. I
Burned
remember
at
eating a
the
burned steak in a few restaurants in Texas.
we did actually. Yeah.
We're
Okay,
gonna do
let's
a pub
see what
crawl.
else we got here. Yeah, so we've
Well,
got
I was definitely burned at the stake, and I was also murdered many times at quite high. I've done a lot of past life regressions, and they're a lot of fun. Anybody watching this, do one if you haven't done one. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been here a lot.
yeah,
A lot.
a lot. Okay, so the universe says there's going to be a whole new mission presented to you.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you're going to be presented like here it is. It'll just come to you as like an absolute mission. Okay, and it could be very active and involve lots of traveling or moving around.
Good.
Cars and airplanes.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
there you go. There you
Right?
go.
But yeah, very active.
Oh, no,
present-
flying car
yeah.
channel. I'll be doing the flying car channel.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And you just need to be open to hearing it like you always are anyway. And it'll be just presented to you. So doesn't even want to give you more details. Just wait, we'll hand you the mission.
Well, that's the way I like it. I don't, like I said, I got lost in an aeroplane when I was 17 over London. I delayed 7 passenger planes because I just jumped in the plane, didn't look where I was going, had to fly somewhere, fly back, and I got it wrong. And I ended up flying towards Swindon, and I had to get Luton Airport to direct me back. 17 years old on my own, right over London, Heathrow approach craft, 7 jets, delay. I got back. It's fine. No problem.
Really good. Thank you so much. Janine, anything on the last row you want to say? Or
Well, it's going to be exciting. Okay.
Okay.
And I feel like you might even be asked to join the white hat military.
Well, as long as I get a hat, I'm happy.
Okay.
Can we call it the yellow woolly hat?
The yellow woolly hat.
Instead of the white hat.
Take it up with them.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Hello, is that Donald? Yeah, I want yellow woolly hats from now on. Thank you.
As long as it's not a rainbow hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're good with about just any hat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today. Of course, if you like the show, leave a comment below. Let us know how we did.
I think history is in the making right now. I really do.
Yeah.
Real history.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Surrender to. Interesting. Surrender to. And then we've got this alliance card. Isn't that interesting?
Mm.
You know, a lot of the things that have been said might be coming here in the next few weeks and months. Could have a lot to do with otherworldly, off-world, and or energetically non-human element to it.
Right.
And advanced technology. So that's interesting that card's there. And we've got a surrender. And the surrender is an ending. So maybe the ending, because this is the past, we surrender to the last 4 years of the clown show. We had to literally just watch that. It was hard to watch, knowing that was a clown show. You know, even now when I watch like Elon and like he's not the real Elon, and I got friends like that just hate him, and they keep telling me how his mom's demonic. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but you know, he's not the real guy, right? It's so hard to explain to people, why are these people walking around pretending to be people that they aren't? Why is this happening? Right. So that's what that feels like. It's past due.
Right.
It's like when so the fruit you bought is too old to eat. Now it looked nice, but now it's past due. It's like it's getting fruit flies. The show's getting fruit flies. Okay, people. Okay, so we've got the Page of Cups there. So there is going to be an announcement, and that's probably talking about it right there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as mind-blowing as some of the things we're hoping or sensing are around the corner.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. And I'm guessing it isn't but I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think it'll be as exciting for some people as you. I don't think they're going to announce, Trump's really been in charge all along and all that kind of stuff. I think they'll probably just really talk about infrastructure like they said they would. Right? Yeah. Okay. So here we've got the 8. It's like that's what happens when you're living in 2 realities, right? They're still playing out that other reality for people.
Right.
There's all of this sort of bleed over, because we're seeing, of course, the comms and, the outfits that are saying things like the innuendos. It's crazy to watch, but almost nobody else, unless they've been watching videos like this or even knowing what we're talking about. They think we're nuts still. We're still in the "you're crazy" category, but
yeah,
I'm feeling like we're going to bust out of there.
Yeah.
See that 8 there? I think there's a lot more information coming and a lot more exciting announcements coming, and things are going to happen daily, hourly, even really fast. Okay, so we've got the Knight of Wands and the 8 here. So this is moving in new territory. And a lot of people, even that aren't in this community, are going to start really feeling like their whole world doesn't make sense anymore. So they're likely going to start looking around for what does. And our kind of communities will probably see a big influx.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Janine. And we're still waiting for President Trump to go live. I've got Fox News up here on YouTube that we'll tune into. At the moment, they're having a press conference going on in Los Angeles. I haven't really kept up to date with what's been going on in Los Angeles the couple days. Janine, have you? I know we've been keeping up really with the inauguration and lots of other things happening. Have you seen anything having to do with LA the past couple days? From your knowledge?
I'm about 4 days out from the last time I really, really focused on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't say I'm up to date.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's something that'll be a continued topic that we'll be looking into. So as we're still waiting for President Trump to go live, and we'll share the screen as soon as he does go live, Janine and I were sharing a little bit right before we went live about how, there's some people out there, we got this new term in the woo community, black-pilled, which I'm sure many of you guys have heard about. This is new to me. Is it, Janine, have you heard this like for a long time, or is this like a newer term?
Maybe a few months.
Few months, yeah. It's a pretty recent term.
Pretty new, yeah.
Meaning someone, red-pilled, we of course know is someone like many of us, most of us in this community, that we've taken the red pill, the Matrix movie reference, to go down the rabbit hole and, go deep into the truth of what's going on. And black pill has to do with people that have gotten, I think, so on the red pill train that they're kind of jaded, kind of depressed. I think the word that's coming through is hopeless. It's coming from kind of a hopeless place. So people that don't think Trump is doing anything good and that he's a whole psyop, or don't think Elon is doing any good, he's a whole psyop. The people that can't see the positive in anything. And I've been noticing mostly positive responses in kind of my circles, Janine, but there are some of those that are black-pilled. Could we do a read on I mean, would it be weird to do a reading for the people that are black-pilled, like guidance for them on how to kind of go into more of a positive light, or just on that situation of people that are black-pilled, how we can handle that? What's the guidance around that?
Yeah, let's just look all around from the universe, what it wants to
Okay.
say about that.
Okay.
If there's guidance, it'll come up in there.
Yeah.
Ooh, a card
Yeah.
just fell. This should be interesting.
Ooh. Cat 27 says, term has been around for years. Interesting, because I never heard of it before. Whoa.
Yeah, the Chariot. So Chariot can be fast and furious as
Right.
information, but it can also be reckless. There's a
Mhm.
reckless energy to the Chariot. It can be a leg up kind of an energy too, where you're getting help from spiritual sources because you're on the right path. We'll see where if it comes up in the reading.
Okay. Oops.
Let's have a look. It feels very Aquarian, that card.
Mm.
The Chariot sometimes, like mix a little Aries in there.
Right.
And weirdly, it's attached to the sign Cancer because the person is all armored up, but they're really soft on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And even though it wasn't their intention maybe to go out in the world the way they did or the way they are or to be in battle or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they got drawn in but they do have the armor to protect them, and sometimes they become known with that card against their own will, so they get thrown into situations sometimes against their will. So it's interesting that card fell. Let's have a look at this. So we've got the 3. This is around the whole black-pilled sort of like phenomena, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you got the 3. So they are usually people that are very independent-minded, that rebel gene type, but they've been watching and waiting so long, or they
Right.
feel like they are. Like some people are not gifted with the patience that, for instance, if you read about everything in my chart, there's an underlying patience that is phenomenal. Even
Mm-hmm.
ox and a bull, born in the year of the ox, then add a Taurus. It is like super patient, persevering, and when things get hard, I just get going. You know what I mean? Like hard work is not scary to me, and I don't mean physical hard work per se.
Yeah.
I mean hard work spiritually in my case, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it depends on the person's personality. Not everybody's cut out to do the long haul on things.
Mm-hmm.
Long haul driving, long haul. You have to have a sense of patience and inner knowing in your heart. You also have had to do the work spiritually. Okay, I feel like some people are just not cut out for that. So they end up, we call them black-pilled. But here's what I get interesting. I feel like these people will come back around, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just having a moment. And a lot of them will come back stronger than ever when things start to really show up for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they just had to step away, dip into, like they're being pessimistic at this point, is
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And if we give them a little time here and stay steady on our own course, maybe it's just the weaving in and out of, the knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like some of them will even come back stronger than ever and be a really big support to the rest of us, maybe when we need it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I feel like it's just a dip over, and it has a lot to do with impatience.
Yeah. Yeah. That was such a good read. And yeah, we're not trying to diss black-pilled people out there. You know, we use these funny terms sometimes in the woo community. It just acknowledging that there's some of us that are celebrating, And I think it's safe to say Janine and I are kind of on the side that we are celebrating. Of course, we've got our eyes open and we're still wanting to see certain actions being taken. But it's important for us to be hopeful. It's important for us to celebrate life, or else we'll literally like die of depression and heartbreak. So this like serious black pill energy is, you know, we got to step away from that. Yes, we got to keep in discernment and not see anybody as heroes, of course, or not heroes, but saviors. That's the right word. But we got to keep that positive vibe. And I love, Janine, earlier today, I listened to the Public Beyond the News that you and JC did last night. And you were talking about the carrots or the breadcrumbs that have kind of been going on the past 5 years. How in many of the readings for not just you, but many of us, there was this message of, okay, there's about to be something really crazy like next week. And it was almost like these carrots to help us go along the way. Because if you had said, you know, in 2020 that we would be going through this long process of 5 years, we probably would have lost our minds and become extremely black-pilled potentially. So it's like such a weird Aquarian process of calms to help us go along the way, while at the same time, some calms that are in alignment with the times. I hope it makes sense how I'm saying that. But yeah, it's important for us to celebrate the wins that are happening. I mean, look at you cannot deny the list of executive orders that happen in one day. Yesterday, if you guys just type in executive orders on Google, you can see all of them. Astounding executive orders on the first day of this Trump presidency, including restoring freedom of speech, ending federal censorship. That's huge. Ending the weaponization of the federal government, withdrawing from the WHO, the WHO. These are huge things that we need to celebrate, right? Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So I think just compassion for those that are really coming from that black pill place, which we're not trying to make fun of them. I can empathize with them because we're all in this war together. And there's definitely times where, I don't know about you, Janine, definitely times where I felt super down during the process of this past 5 years. Some days I didn't even want to get out of bed. Like things are so screwed up. So yeah. Okay. And just seeing here in the comments, some of you guys are saying, Spirit Dancer, been waiting over 50 years. That is wild, Spirit Dancer. You are a badass. Good on you. So, okay, we're still waiting for this announcement. You guys, President Trump is leaving us hanging. We will go live with that. We'll play it live. We'll do a live reaction all together. As soon as that happens, we'll just for now go along with the topic of our show. So today, Janine, is the exact Pluto-Cazimi, exact Sun conjunct Pluto that you and I did a whole special show on that here on the Beyond Mystic Rumble and X channels. That was, what day was that? I don't even know. That was on Saturday we did that. Mm-hmm. Trump, Pluto, Cazimi, situation critical. So if you guys want to get the whole debrief spiel on that, you can go watch that show. How are you feeling today, Janine, as we're under this Sun conjunct Pluto at 1 degrees, critical degrees in Aquarius? How are you just feeling overall with this energy?
Well, I woke up and right away I was texting with a friend of mine who's like a Trump derangement syndrome, right. But I absolutely love her and she's my friend. And it was
Janine, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I think Trump is live. Okay. So, sorry to interrupt you. Let me, this is on Benny Johnson's channel. Okay. Let me bring this up, you guys. 1 second here. I think this is live. Okay. Let's see what this is all about.
Bricks.
Is that a what?
Bricks.
Oh, BRICS. No, I was talking about BRICS. BRICS is 6 nations. I think it's 7 nations. And
was this yesterday or today? This is Benny Johnson's YouTube.
They won't be happy about what's going to happen.
Let's just see what he says.
Are you still considering a universal tariff, Mr. President, on all countries?
That looks like yesterday's.
It looks like yesterday's?
Yeah.
There you go. Trump definitively
Okay,
shifted.
sorry, you guys. It looked like he was going live. That's just something from yesterday. Okay, so we'll keep posted with that. Sorry about that, you guys. We'll go back to what we were talking about, Janine. We were talking about the current energies. You were
How
talking
I'm
to
doing?
a friend
You
of
were
yours,
asking?
how you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So woke up to kind of feeling like defensive
Yeah.
and a little bit like, oh, how do I explain what we've been talking about for 4 or 5 years? This person doesn't watch my videos
Right.
and finds the whole topic offensive and is of the
Right.
mindset that we've got Hitler in. Like US just voted Hitler in. So it's really hard. It's like, okay. But I was trying to be loving and patient because I really love her and I see her goodness. She comes from a good place and but was just fooled into all of that stuff. Just like a lot of really good people because they want to be inclusive. They want to be, so they lied to by CNN and she never got that red pill I did, right about the time I flipped that around and you know what I mean? So I can't really, be angry about it or anything, but I was feeling really defensive. And then I just chilled out of that. I went for a walk, which always helps, and grounded a little bit and breathed some fresh air. There was crows everywhere. Vancouver is a crow city. I'm still in Vancouver. I'll be in the Haida Gwaii though by within a week. So I'm really excited to get back. But anyway, so now I'm feeling much better. So I just cleared my head before the show and I'm not feeling defensive. I'm going to let her figure it out for herself. I sent her a few video because she was sending me clips of the Hitler salute supposedly that Elon did. I explained to her Elon was a brand. He's being used for things. So
right.
And then I sent her a video clip back of all of the people that have made those supposed Hitler stances that never got called out. They're all liberals. Okay, so all of a sudden she's never talked about those guys, but she's talking about Elon doing that. You know what I mean? So, and I also sent her another video I found that was about this really cool guy explaining that, and that it actually wasn't the Hitler stance. Wasn't there was some big parts missing from it, so it couldn't have been that. Anyway, it's just, and furthermore, now we're starting to decide. This is even taking it further. Okay, now we're going to get crazy because I feel like we got a big conversation coming about the Second World War. I don't think any of that was told to us properly. I feel like all of it's a big lie. What really was happening? I feel like they were using Hitler as a brand against and setting up the whole anti-Semitism, like they were trying to make it so like you would be so ashamed if you dared go against Jewish people after that, because the Khazarian mafia was hiding behind the Jewish people. So it was a huge setup. And I feel like actually likely Hitler was probably originally at least trying to take out the Khazarian mafia out of Germany. So these are things that are being uncovered. And of course, I know anyway that in my heart, I just know that that who's that British guy that everybody, Churchill, was absolutely deep state. He's a total scumbag and likely the actual technically father of, or at least they got his DNA and made who became Queen Elizabeth. Okay. None of those people are who they say they are. So, we know all of that. That leads us to the obvious. Hitler was probably not who we thought he was. Not to say he was a good person, but he definitely probably wasn't doing what they said he was doing. And they used him and they wrote history around that situation just to use it. So there's all of that. So how do you unpack that to somebody who's mad at somebody who's a mask-wearing puppet? For doing a Hitler stance. Okay. So where do you even start? I can't even start somewhere because I need a year with her.
I need a year with her. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And it kind of makes me think, Janine, about how kind of current world war, like the war in Afghanistan and the Middle East, that all started with 9/11 and the bad guys, the bad terrorists. But we all know that that wasn't actually, stemming from terrorists in the Middle East. And so many men went out and fought in a war, boots on the ground, like World War II, like World War I, thinking they were doing something good for the home country, but really it was for the globalists kind of thing. So that's a big one you're bringing up around the wars and people going and fighting and us having to unpack that for sure. But it's going to have to be something that we do unpack in the woo community, and we do unpack with our loved ones one by one. And kind of relates into what we've been talking about in recent days. Not all of this can come out at once, because our brains would literally explode. Our brains would explode, and our loved ones more in the unawakened path, they would completely explode, especially with all this Pisces right now. So it's, patience. We're still in patience, you guys. There's so much to be revealed still. Okay, is this Trump live? Let's see here, you guys. Let's take a peek. Is this from yesterday or today? Someone let us know in the chat, and let's take a look to see what is being said. Oh, is that still not? So weird. The channel keeps going. I'm not even going to look at Benny Johnson anymore. I'm just going to keep it on Fox, because the channel keeps going to speeches that are going on, and then that's confusing me. So, okay, to go back to this Pluto Cazimi, this is a very big moment where kind of like, and it's interesting that you bring up World War II, because that's a really uncomfortable thing to talk about. It's very Plutonian, right? Sun conjunct Pluto. It's like very uncomfortable topics, shadow work to bring up to the surface. Janine, do you have any particular advice or modalities that you like to work with when you're really kind of in that energy of shadow work, whether that's for yourself, some really deep things coming up that need to be faced, or other people, when you did your one-on-one readings, more work that way, when there was the really intense stuff coming up? And I know there can be healing done in a tarot or astrology reading, but what kind of advice or like modalities do you suggest when we're in that situation? Because I think a lot of us can be dealing with that in our personal lives or with loved ones with this Sun conjunct Pluto.
I would always start with, what does the universe need you to know right now about it, or about the situation? Because sometimes I'd have people come in and right away I could tell this was going to get really deep and Plutonian. I'm a Scorpio moon, so trust me, I can handle it. And it's like holding sometimes people said having a reading with me was like, I go in, get their heart out, bring it out. It's beating. We breathe some fresh air on it, on the situation. I put it back in, all within an hour. So that was my forte, frankly, was going into some deep, like I even attracted a lot of clientele that had been sexually abused, sexual abuse. SRA even didn't even know it was called that back then, but the descriptions I now know. So I even had about 4 or 5 people on the regular, 2 of them on the regular. One of them I ended up working really like, many years with. But I had no idea it was called that then, but it was absolutely like what they were describing. So that can come into readings, and I would always just start with, what does the universe need us to know right now? So if you keep it in that space so your higher self wants you to know this. And then you do it layer by layer, reading by reading. So it might start out a really big overview.
Right.
And then if they want to keep working, they come back, or even they stay and they want more and more reads on it, get deeper and deeper. So you just have to start there, let the universe guide you. So I gave it up to the universe. I didn't have a strategy. There's no strategy. Just, what does the universe need us to know? how do we approach that? And I would just, and also like not feeling sorry for people. That's a really big, I don't go around feeling sorry for people. That is actually disempowering to them.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, nobody's a victim, and I'm not going to treat them like that. Like I have to help them see that they're not a victim, or they'll keep being a victim or being victimized. If your energy reads victim, you will literally attract situations that put you back in victim mode.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to help them not think like a victim anymore. So I'm a little radical.
Yeah.
So I'm not the one. If you need years and years and years of talk therapy to go there, yeah, I'm not the reader for you. And but the right ones, I also trusted that if they were ready to really just see the big picture of the situation and then start working from there, they'll find me.
Love that. That is some awesome wisdom, and people in the comments really resonating with it as well. Can we look at, Janine, our topic for today specifically, changes in the government system moving forward? What does that look like?
Yeah, because we're seeing it already, right? Like we're seeing it already. Like we got somebody who went on an interview, what was a couple of hours with Rogan?
Which person?
Trump. Didn't he have an interview?
Yeah, President Trump. Yeah. For like wasn't it 3 hours or something like
long,
that?
Anyway.
Yeah.
And like, so he's being accountable. It's not just little sound bites. Yeah. And he's talking, he could have got caught up at any time in that interview. He could have got, right? So he's brave enough to sit there with somebody and unpack 3 hours or 2 hours worth, or even an hour. They're not just taking little sound bites. That's what they've been doing. They've got all these actors pretending to be, they've got all of these deep state and CIA plants like Obama, SRA, MK Ultra, absolute insane pedophiles. Yeah. Okay. You would be able to figure that out if you sat down with that guy, Obama, for instance. You could figure that out if you had 2 or 3 hours sitting there on camera with him. You could figure out he wasn't who he said he was. I mean, he had so many different personalities because he'd been SRA'd his whole life. The guy's satanic ritual abuse. Go look it up, you guys. Yeah. And so we've got a whole new set of, we have to start from scratch. How do we do politics now? I feel like we got to start from scratch because we've literally been infiltrated for many, many years. We don't know how many, maybe from the beginning. I don't know. With people that didn't have humans' best interests and were literally planted to do us harm and keep us enslaved. So like we don't have anything to go on other than other cultures before, like if history's true, because they're saying, okay, the indigenous cultures did it this way and everything. But now I'm thinking there was already civilization, Tartaria, et cetera, all of these weird buildings, even here in Canada, that's supposed to be only how many, like here in the West, 300 or 250 or 300 years. That's how long supposedly they've been here. But there's buildings here that are suspectly older than that. Right. Okay, so they're everywhere, all over the world. So we have no history now to go. We have to wipe it all off the map, okay, and start from scratch and figure out a way to have, like, govern ourselves. That's how crazy it is. But let's see if the cards agree.
Yeah.
That's how nuts it is, see?
It is.
Yeah, see the world? So we literally have to say goodbye to everything that's happened in the past. And you have to start completely new. We've gone to this plateau. Say goodbye to that. We're never doing that again because it went down the rabbit hole and got us into the whole way we produce food doesn't work. it's poisoning us. So, and it is open to poisoning. Everything's based on materialism, and everything's based on like everybody's real focus isn't to be a good person. It's actually to get rich. Like this is the model of our societies are based in. The model's also based in tiers, too many tiers. So levels. And even like underlying kind of a caste system, even if your culture doesn't admit it, it really is true, right? Like in the UK, you got people with this kind of an accent are considered they're from here, so they're probably not from the upper class, and how their accent sounds. You go up the ladder and they get more and more pretentious in the way they speak and what schools they go to. And that still exists. Okay. Yeah. Even though it's, they've got so many people coming in there that don't, aren't from those kind of cultures now, but you still have this underlying caste system, and it's here, it's everywhere. Right? There's like the caste system here is more like, okay, what do you do for a living? How much money? What do you drive? People are still sizing you up. Here in Vancouver, for sure, how you're dressed, what purse are you carrying? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you have the right to, like, there's a certain kind of Arc'teryx gear here. If you're wearing Arc'teryx, okay, everyone knows it costs 300 and plus to get a jacket from them. Okay, so you must be making good money. You're driving this. All of it's not based in your merit. I love that Trump said things are going to be based on your merit, and I know he was talking about jobs. Okay, and what jobs you get with the government, for instance. It's not going to be about being inclusive and, we don't have enough of this colored people, so we need, we don't care what we're going to get. We need some transgenders in here because that's what everybody's looking for. So even though there's only 1% of the population, or maybe less, that are transgendered, we're going to choose one of them to represent, a huge part of our population. Does that even make sense? Does that even make sense? I'm not saying don't hire if they're merit and they're come in there with as good of a and better resume and they can do the job better. Great. They could all be transgender for all I care, if that is in fact their merit, warrants it. That's what I thought he was saying to that. Okay, so correct me in the comments if you guys think he meant something different. He's going to go on their merit. He's going to be colorblind. And that's what we should be in the first place. It's not about, we need this. You get the job because we want a Black person representing. Okay, no, let's let everybody come for the job. And we don't care. Like, let's be like the Justice card was originally had a blindfold on. And just only, or blinders, let's say blinders, and only read the merits, and then also, look into their credentials, look into their other employees and what did they think of them, you know what I mean, based on their merit. Anyway, I feel like the whole system, so we're brand new here. It's going to be hard. It'll take years to discover exactly how to do this. This is the really big picture because it's a big question, right? We're looking at big questions, but it's going to take years. We're still even just coming out of this war we've been in that nobody admits we're in. Yeah. This cult community does, but so we're in the war still. And then the fool. So we're going to be left with, so we have to start from scratch. The fool starts from scratch, but the fool has everything they need in their bag. So they've got a pentacle, they've got a sword, a cup, and so they have all the elements. They have water, voice, sword, thoughts and words, the element of emotion. They have pentacles, which is physical, their physical body self and physically being able to do things, and wand, which is inspiration and spiritual energy, right? Inspired, integral, and spiritual energy. Okay, so they have everything it takes. We have what it takes, but we're literally starting from scratch. Okay. And we've been in a big illusion. So the first order of business is to get everybody understanding what illusions we've been under and how we've been fooled. That's all the PSYOP stuff. I feel like the White Hat Alliance has been doing that here for the last at least 5 years, where they've been showing us in real time what the theater of politics looks like. It's gotten so ridiculous. If somebody thought that was real, then there's something maybe wrong with them. If they're watching closely and they still think nothing's wrong, maybe they're crazy, like seriously, because it's nuts out there.
Yeah.
When you're watching what these people are doing, it's so obvious there's something off, way off. Like, seriously? Okay. So I feel like that. So we move from there. First, you got to know how this all happened to you. Then it's going to be a big mess for a while. And you will have a lot of black-pilled people coming out of that. Okay. Right. And a lot of people that are just depressed and just can't get past, okay, the dysfunction of that, and what a waste of time. Some people won't want to give up the tier system because maybe they're sitting pretty in it. Some people won't want to give up always striving for, you know, like having your community and culture and even government centered around financial abundance, hoarding of monies, you know, the rat race. Some people won't want to give that up, right? We have to adjust everything for this to work. So we've got judgment here. I feel like, so the wake up call for the first 3 years, and then rebuilding in the back channels, but the wake up call could last for years. That's everybody up. Like, I don't think it'll happen overnight, even though a lot of us thought it'd be fun if it did. The smack roll, but I feel like people wouldn't last through it. They'd go nuts.
Yeah.
You know, to try to get that dumped on them overnight, that would be impossible. So like, it took us time to, you know, get here to where we are, varying degrees of where we are. So first that, I feel like people would get unhinged even. Like, we're strong, powerful people to even be sitting here talking about this stuff. But a lot of people don't have that kind of understanding. Like, I have people I really love, and I'm thinking about it going, they couldn't do it. They couldn't get there fast. They need a real slow trigger. So even though that's frustrating, and then that whole time, that somebody in the background, or some people, a group of people who are ahead, so they're ahead of that, ahead of the group trying to catch up, they need to be looking at and working on systems and trying out things. We need tryout systems. So different communities are going to have to build their own little sort of governing factions, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, governing little bodies, and start looking at and working out and discussing and coming together. Trial and error. I feel like it's going to take trial and error, building it up in the background and bringing it to the bigger group once they're ready to hear about it.
Yeah. Wow, that is a lot. And that's exciting. What that makes me feel is like, that's exciting because we're based in this very material Western society. We've been completely disconnected from our natural way of living in community, our mind, body, spirit connection. And that's where so much of this depression and anxiety comes from. I know more people that are depressed than aren't depressed personally. And, you know, it's beautiful what you were saying there of like a society based on merit, you know, so instead of the material things, it's, you know, who we are and the positions we step into based on who we are, you know, not necessarily your parent can pay $500,000 for you to go to this university or get this job role, material realm, right? So, and really interesting too, Janine, I want to bring up, and I might have mentioned this to you already, you kept using the words there, fresh, like totally fresh, totally new energy. And it's very interesting in 2025, and particularly it will be exact February 2026, February 20th, Saturn, which rules governments, the systems and structures of life, in conjunction to Neptune, the planet of dissolving, also spirituality and higher morals and merit, 0 degrees of Aries. So critical, strongest expression degree of whatever sign it's in Aries is complete new beginnings, fresh new energy. The Fool starting from scratch. So cool that in 2025, throughout 2025, we're going to start that Saturn-Neptune conjunction will start really strong around the March eclipse season. They'll be in conjunction 5 degrees in Pisces. Then summer 2025, we're going to start to get a taste of that, of really how much we're going to have to rebuild. Aries also rules rebuilding. Men, you know, the roles of men very much kind of being the builders. Of course, women can build too, but to actually build these new infrastructures, we haven't even gotten into the free energy. We haven't even gotten into the, it's funny that Trump is going to talk about infrastructure, right? It's like eventually there will be a whole new infrastructure needed beyond the one we even have right now, that the different executive orders are going to be made on, or maybe they'll go completely into the Aquarian age soon. So we're in that energy, and very interesting. We have not had that conjunction since the fall of Babylonian times, 11,000 years ago, which who knows what the truth around that really is. I mean, if we can't figure out World War II, how are we going to figure out 11,000 years ago, right? So it's also going to bring up Babylon, because astrology cycles and repeats things from the last time, you know, an aspect happens. So very much makes sense, Janine. It's in alignment with the astrology, what you're talking about for sure. So President Trump has still not gone live with this massive announcement. We are still waiting for that. So we've talked about the changes in the government moving forward. Can we also look at, Janine, how people are going to see the government in the future? You kind of touched on that in that reading there, but you know, there's those of us that kind of see through what's going on. And then, like you said, there's people that don't at all see through what's going on. How are people overall going to be looking at the government?
There's the fighter card again.
Wow.
Okay, so definitely angry at the government. Okay, and then the judgment. I mean, like, think about it. When everybody is on board and actually knows who made the most money from the jabs, who condoned, and it's all higher ups. So the governing bodies of everything. Okay, so the governing bodies of hospitals, they're the ones that decided on using that poisonous, I forget what it was called, way of dealing with COVID. Okay. So first we got a fake disease that isn't what they think it is. So people are being made sick by something that has nothing to do with a virus, very likely. Okay. And was man-made. And then they're using this, I forget what it was, I won't try to say it because I don't remember. It started with an R, I think. And they're using, and they were told all over here in North America and in UK hospitals and probably all over the world, weird, right? Yeah. They were told they could only use this one sort of response to it. And then at the end, put them all on ventilators. Once you're on a ventilator, you're out. Mm-hmm. You're not coming back from that. Okay, so that's right. Like the death sentence, right? So it just led you right there. And a lot of those people could have been cured by a couple of different really inexpensive cures that were illegal to use and taken off the shelves even though they'd been available for years and revered as great ways to deal with all kinds of things. Those were taken off the shelves. I noticed a lot of things all of a sudden you couldn't get your hands on. Yeah. Like zinc, for instance, I remember right away the word went around that have a good zinc, like upgrade your zinc intake, blah, 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 vitamin D and everything. And all of a sudden you couldn't find zinc anywhere. They took it off the shelf. Why would so that had to be some kind of governance, okay? Mm-hmm. So some kind of faction of the government decided that somewhere and told all the drugstores to take it out. We couldn't find it anywhere in Calgary. Okay, what is that? That's like, we know this will probably help them, so get rid of it. What does that tell you? They're trying to kill us.
Exactly.
There's only one way that goes. So instead of making it available readily, they took it off the shelves equals they're exactly the enemy. They're not your friend.
Mhm.
Just like they weren't the indigenous people's friends here in North America. They gave them blankets infested with disease
Oh
to
my
make
God.
sure they died of the diseases they had no immunity to. Okay, that's what they were doing. And and then now they did it to everybody. So the same thing they are known to do. This is their MO, right? These guys is MO. Right. So they don't have use for us. They want our land. So they did exactly what they did to the indigenous North American peoples and indigenous people all over the world.
Yeah.
In every color, there's indigenous peoples, you guys. There's just the people that were there originally. And to get rid of them and make room for their industry, they've done this to everybody, right? So
Mhm.
everybody is finding that out, right? That's starting to get to be an overall, like, it's not just a myth anymore. Everybody's figuring it out. And it's going to get more and more where the trumpet is louder and louder, where you really just understand they tried to kill everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not talking about this little area where they're genociding and I'm not saying there's anything good about that. I'm just saying, never mind, they're trying to genocide everybody.
Yeah.
You're in there. You can have sit-ins about this place or that because they're genociding it. You just had that experience yourself. How about look right in your own backyard? They tried to genocide you. Okay, so we've got judgment card there. I like to tell those young people that are doing those sit-ins, not to say they shouldn't do that, but maybe they should wake up to, if they had a couple of jabs and were told they had to stay in university, guess what? They were trying to genocide you. They're just doing it a little quieter, right? And they're also trying to sterilize you. Sterilize humanity. Okay. So when people figure that out, know who their enemy is, and that's an ongoing thing that's happening. Yeah. It's the victory will be that something in the background knew this. So something, I'm thinking like the Q movement. I'm thinking like, what we call the white hats, what we call, I know they sound crazy, but I really think there must be something like that working in the background because this looks like now we're going to see some helpers came and people are going to start hearing about, this is the people that don't know this already. They're going to start hearing about, and it'll be maybe whispers at first, but they're going to start searching out. Well, first of all, how come we aren't all dead?
Right.
How did this get stopped? Something happened. Okay. How did this get stopped? And how did we just, in the US anyway, their government is just about to do the opposite of what's been fast, in the fast lane. They were trying to take all your rights away. All of a sudden, Trump just handed back a whole bunch of rights to people.
Mm-hmm.
He also kicked a whole bunch of people's asses. And some of them, I saw some really funny cartoons about it and memes about it, like people having to go back to work in person. So you're just not getting a paycheck for not going to work. What kind of government does that? They're trying to make you so lazy that you're not paying attention. You have no self-esteem. You don't even have to get dressed and go to work anymore. Are they trying to make a whole nation of complete blubbering idiots who can't even, like, and are socially inept because now they're not around people. Like, they tried to keep us all indoors. It was their intention to keep us indoors for years. So when everybody finds that out, there's going to be the anger and grief around that. We're already past that. Most of us were like, whatever, that's what it happened, right? So we're still in it on one hand, but we're way ahead because now we're going, we got to rebuild now. I feel like that's going to save everybody. The stories about, so the truther community feels like what we know and what we've uncovered and discovered, and all those digital soldiers out there, we're going to save humanity, guys, in a way. Writing, talking, and doing podcasts, and sending people to different podcasts we've already done so they can catch up. We're going to get them caught up So we've been keeping score of everything that's been going on for the past 4 or 5 years, and some people even for the last 20. All of those people's information is going to be valid and necessary, while people, so they'll recognize that a whole bunch of people do care about humanity and are willing to fight for it. And I feel like that's going to rally people to want to actually create and know that there's a different way we can do this. There's way more of us. We can come together. We can figure this out together because people actually cared to do that, even if it meant losing friends and family, being called, a liar, an idiot, and the fool of the family, the black sheep, and all the stuff that happened to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true. I agree with everything you just said, for sure. And it can sound kind of crazy. There's a whole system working behind the scenes and everything's going to be okay, when right in our faces with our eyes, which is only one of our senses. Check out our psychic senses workshop coming up. All the other senses, all the other psychic senses, the astrology, the tarot, it's showing there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that not everybody is totally privy to yet. CeeLo Joe also says they were trying to extinguish our inner light. To be productive is essential. That is very well said, CeeLo Joe. Yeah, if we're not productive, I mean, you think about natural society, every day you have to find water. You have to hunt food. You have to grow food. You have to tend to the fire. You have to take care of the children. There's so much to do. And that also lifts our spirits because we're connected to the natural realm and grounded. And many of us have lost that, or many people in society have lost that. So it's exciting that we are coming back to that, Janine, for sure. Okay, it looks like at any moment Trump is going to be going live. Right before this little scene, there was a little podium. So something is going to be happening soon. Not sure. We're almost at the hour mark here, so not sure if we'll be able to get to that in today's show. But before we finish up, Janine, could we do a final pull on this golden age that Trump is referring to? He's been, saying this term over and over and over again the whole past 24 hours. Golden age this, golden age that. And so cool because, of course, in the sidereal astrology, greater astrological cycles, age of Aquarius is a golden age, the start of a whole new 12,000 year golden age. Can we do a read on this? What exactly is he referring to, this golden age? Is this just totally in general? Is this around something specific? What's up with that?
Money system comes to mind when I see that. Something that in the past has hurt us. Maybe that's our financial system, because it's really enslaved us. And this is like a kind of working on something in the background. So something's been worked on in the background. And I feel like it'll be legally announced. I think a new way of finance, a new potential route that could replace certainly the Fed.
Right.
And he's made a lot of it's money. It looks like it's so he's saying it for lots of reasons probably, but one of them is maybe there's a gold backed, which I've got for years, that one of his big concerns was to create something gold backed and or metals backed. Okay, but I'm thinking gold. Yep, it's gold backed. Something gold backed. Okay, and the magician here. So there could be a few levels of it. So we could get to level 1 of it. I feel like, and lots of discussion will be around it, but he might be announcing that real soon too.
Interesting. Okay, that's pretty clear, you guys. You've heard it here from Janine, and I didn't even think about that. I don't know how I didn't even think about that. Of course, golden age, gold back. Okay, even just like common sense wise, it's like, yeah, it could relate to gold, but making a lot of sense there, Janine. Thank you so much for that. Lioness says, now I wish I took the crypto course. You guys, It is never too late to take the crypto course. We have a crypto course with Coco and Jason at 4 on the Beyond Mystic Academy. And, you know, part of this going into the age of Aquarius, this whole Aquarian energy, is there's going to be lots of new information that there might be resistance for some of us towards learning about if we feel like we don't know anything about it. But it's going to be very important for us to learn about it, to not get kind of stuck in the dust, or we'll have more of a challenging time if we don't embrace these things. That's kind of my take. So do what you guys feel with that.
Lời nói và cử chỉ đều toát ra vẻ dũng mãnh, rất có uy phong của một người cầm quân. Triều đại của Hoàng trị có 2 vị thượng tướng quân già như Hoàng Trung, một là Lưu Đại Hạ, vị kia là Vương Việt, đều là gừng càng già càng cay. Lưu Đại Hạ là trọng thần trong triều, lần lượt phò tá 3 vị hoàng đế Anh Tông, Hiến Tông, Hiếu Tông, là nguyên lão tam triều, đức cao vọng trọng. Lão là người làm việc quả quyết, giỏi việc binh đao, lại vô tư chính trực. Cho nên dù bọn Lưu Kiện vẫn luôn xem thường võ tướng, nhưng lại khá kính trọng vị Lưu Thượng Thư này. Lưu Đại Hạ xem xong tấu báo quân tình liền trầm ngâm một hồi lâu, rồi sau đó khẽ lắc đầu nói: Bệ hạ, thần cũng cho rằng nên canh phòng nghiêm ngặt, chứ không nên đưa quân ra biên ải. Điều Kiện, Tạ Thiên, Lý Đông Dương nghe vậy đều thở phào nhẹ nhõm. Miêu Quỳ lại đưa mắt nhìn trời, vô cùng tức giận. Lão biết tuy Lưu Đại Hạ nói như vậy phần lớn là do việc công, nhưng trong đó chưa hẳn đã không có chút tư tâm nào. Lưu Đại Hạ cùng với nội quan, tức là thái giám, ở trong triều tranh đấu đã nhiều năm, coi hoạn quan như là rắn rết, chỉ cần là kiến nghị mà do nội quan đưa ra, bất luận đúng sai trong lòng lão cũng đều phát sinh vài phần cảnh giác. Thuở Trịnh Công Công vài lần đến Đại Dương phía Tây, thế lực hoạn quan đang hùng mạnh, Lưu Đại Hạ cho rằng Viễn Dương đến nước khác là sai lầm về mặt chính trị, là điều động binh lực một cách vô bổ, lại sợ thế lực hoạn quan mượn chuyện này để phát triển quyền lực, trở thành đại họa cho triều đình. Do đó khi anh Tông muốn tiếp tục viễn hành, lão liền bất chấp lý lẽ mà can ngăn. Nghe nói bản đồ hàng hải của Trịnh Công Công đã bị hủy trong tay lão ta. Năm Thành Hóa thứ 17, Uông Công Công Uông Trực muốn thừa cơ đánh chiếm An Nam, bèn nhờ bộ binh tìm lại bản đồ của An Nam trước kia. Lưu Đại Hạ cho rằng một khi chiến sự nổ ra thua thì tử thương thảm trọng, thắng thì thế lực hoạn quan mạnh lên. Vì vậy đã đem bản đồ An Nam giấu mất, không chịu giao. Chính sách bế quan tỏa cảng, tự bảo vệ mình rất được bọn sĩ phu tán đồng. Cho nên ngay cả kẻ khuyên khuynh triều chính như là Uông Trực cũng không có cách nào gây khó dễ cho lão. Giờ đây lão nói như vậy, chẳng lẽ là sợ hoạn quan sẽ lại đắc thế một lần nữa? Miêu Quỳ vừa nghĩ vừa lạnh lùng liếc nhìn lão, ánh mắt đầy vẻ oán hận. Nhưng Lưu Đại Hạ là thần tử được hoàng trị sùng ái nhất hiện nay. Lão ta cai quản vùng Hoàng Hà, quét sạch phản tặc, đốc quản quân lương, làm quan thanh liêm, có thể nói là trên dưới triều đình ai nấy đều ca ngợi. Tuy rằng Miêu Quỳ cũng được sủng ái, nhưng cũng không. Hoàng trị nghe vị dũng tướng này nói cũng như vậy, trong lòng cảm thấy thất vọng vô cùng. Ông nói với giọng công phục: Thái tổ thành tổ từng mấy lần xuất quân ra ngoài biên ải, đánh cho người Mông Cổ thất bại thảm hại, khiến người Mông về sau thấy cờ sĩ của đại minh ta liền phóng ngựa tránh xa. Quân ta muốn đánh một trận mà không được. Khi xưa đâu ai phong như thế, cớ gì bây giờ lại không thể chứ? Lưu Đại Hạ chắc tay thưa: Bệ hạ thần vũ chẳng kém gì Thái tổ thành tổ, nhưng ngày nay binh mã kẹp xa phía trước, và đại thổi triều đình thường xuyên điều cả chục vạn đại quân ra sa mạc. Hiện nay quân binh đại minh ta chỉ giỏi thủ không giỏi công, việc chiến tranh không thể tùy tiện phát động. Trong tình thế hiện giờ, thủ là thượng sách, chiến là hạ sách. Và vị đại học sĩ vuốt râu mỉm cười tỏ ý tán thành. Hoàng trị thở dài nói: Ái Khanh hiểu rõ việc quân, Khanh đã nói như vậy, tất là đúng lý. Nếu không có lời hay của mấy vị Ái Khanh, chấm nhất thời giận dữ kích động, suýt nữa đã làm hỏng đại sự rồi. Lưu Kiện cúi đầu tán dương: Bệ hạ đáng nghe lẽ phải, quả thật là minh quân trên đời, Hoàng trị cười gượng khoát tay, cái đó lại hỏi Lưu Đại Hà. Theo ái khanh, chấm nên xử trí chuyện này như thế nào đây? Lưu Đại Hà thoáng ngẫm nghĩ một chút rồi đáp. Lời của vị học sĩ rất là có lý. Thần cũng nghĩ rằng bệ hạ nên cho tướng lĩnh biên cương nghe ngóng tình hình, phòng thủ nghiêm ngặt, đề phòng quân địch xâm phạm. Ngoài ra nên xây đắp thêm một đoạn trường thành ở Bát Đạt Lĩnh, lập cờ ải để chống địch, đồng thời cho trọng binh đồn trú ở lân cận, xây dựng trạm canh và phong hỏa đài tại những con đường nối và đường giao thông quan trọng từ quan thành lên phía bắc. Nếu thi hành song song những kế sách này, kinh sư nhất định sẽ vững như bàn thạch. Hoàng trị ung dung ngồi trên long ỷ gật gù nói: cứ theo lời khanh vậy. Lưu đại học sĩ hãy soạn chỉ đi. Vâng, thần xin cáo lui. Hoàng trị khoát tay, nhìn mấy vị trọng tần bên người lần lượt cất bước lui ra, trong lòng thất vọng. Tiểu vương tử tập kích biên giới trong đêm giao thừa, ba cánh đại quân ta đã dễ dàng giành lại đất đai bị mất trong nháy mắt. Chẳng lẽ vừa rời khỏi biên hải, mãnh hổ này thực sự sẽ biến thành con mèo hay sao? Ôi, có lẽ bọn họ đã đúng. Chính trị và quân sự nửa do sức người, nửa do sức trời. Gây dựng công nghiệp đã gian nan, bảo vệ cũng không phải dễ. Thái y quả nhiên không dám phán bừa là thái tử không bị bệnh, càng không dám tùy tiện bốc thuốc, chỉ dám kê đại mấy pha thuốc an thần, căn dặn thái tử nghỉ ngơi nhiều một chút rồi lui ra. Dương Lăng mỉm cười nói với thái tử: Điện hạ, sáng ngày mai chúng ta cứ y kế mà làm, vi thần tạm xin cáo lui đây. Được, sáng ngày mai ngươi hãy ở ngoài cửa hậu cung chờ ta. Chu Hậu Chiếu phát tay, trong lòng thì đang nghĩ về chuyện khác. Tối hôm qua hắn được xem bọn La Tường Cao Phượng biểu diễn kịch đèn chiếu đến nửa đêm, giờ lại thấy thèm được xem tiếp. Tạ đại học sĩ đã đi, gã đang muốn gọi bọn họ đến để diễn tiếp. Nhìn về mặt của hắn, Dương Lăng tỉnh bơ vái sâu một vái, xong quay sang gần đầu chào cốc đại dục, rồi chậm rãi lui ra. Qua 2 ngày tiếp xúc y cũng thấy được cái đám Bát Hổ hiện hoàn toàn chưa có dã tâm chính trị gì, nhưng vì bọn chúng lựa ý hùa theo thái tử giúp cho hắn vui, cho nên các hành động và việc làm hiện tại khiến cho chúng khó tránh khỏi sẽ bước đi trên con đường ấy. Hiện giờ y vừa mới kết bạn với thái tử, còn Bát Hổ thì lại chăm sóc Chu Hậu Chiếu từ nhỏ cho đến lớn. Luận về cảm tình tuyệt đối y không thể bằng bọn chúng được. Nếu để Bát Hổ này nảy lòng nghi kỵ thì tiện nói xấu mấy câu trước mặt thái tử. Đến lúc ấy cái chức thị đồng này của y cũng khỏi cần làm tiếp nữa. Hơn nữa thái tử đang ở trong thời kỳ tâm lý nổi loạn của tuổi teen, nếu y học theo các vị trung thần hết mực khuyên ngăn, e rằng chỉ tạo ra hiệu ứng ngược. Cho nên Dương Lăng không dám để lộ chút vẻ phản cảm nào trên mặt. Y chỉ hy vọng rằng với nỗ lực của bản thân có thể khiến cho vị hoàng đế mà theo quỹ đạo lịch sử ban đầu sẽ là một cái tên hôn quân này khác đi đôi chút so với lịch sử. Có điều, tuy nói tuổi thiếu niên là lúc dễ buồn ngắn nhất, nhưng mà vỏn vẹn chỉ có 2 năm. Thời gian không chờ mình, đành cố hết sức thôi. Đường Hộ Quốc Tử, một kẻ áo vải đầu bù tóc rối, cưỡi một thớt ngựa gầy. Hà Tam tướng dò hỏi mãi mới tìm đến được cửa nhà Dương Lăng. Từ khi bị áp giải vào kinh, nhốt vào đại lao bộ hình đến nay đã được hơn nửa tháng. Mãi đến hôm nay, gã mới được phóng thích ra khỏi ngục, giáng làm phó thiên tổng, phải đi đến vùng Quảng Tây xa xôi để nhậm chức. Ở nửa tháng này, rốt cuộc gã đã được biết thế nào gọi là thế sự vô thường, thế nào gọi là thói đời nóng lạnh. Đám đại bạn năm xưa cũng có vài kẻ đang làm quan trong kinh, nhưng không một kẻ nào dám ra mặt nói giúp gã một câu công đạo. Người nhà gã hay tin xấu bèn bảo tam đệ gã mang rất nhiều vàng bạc vào kinh vận động lo lót. Nhưng đây là vụ án do thiên tử yêu cầu xét xử, lại cuốn bộ binh, bộ công, bộ hộ, ngũ quân đổ nước phủ vào vòng tranh cãi. Lúc này người ta tránh còn không kịp, ai dám đưa chân bước vào trung tâm cơn bão trước. Vì vậy chỉ muốn tìm người nói chút vài câu thôi mà cũng không được. Lúc đó gã lại nghe tin mẹ già tuổi gần 70 vì hay tin gã phạm tội bị ra ngoài đại lao, có thể sẽ nguy tới tính mạng, mà lòng lo lắng khiến bệnh ngày một nặng thêm. Hiện giờ bệnh tình nghiêm trọng, thậm chí trong nhà đã chuẩn bị sẵn quan tài, áo liệm đầy đủ cả. Thế là lòng gã càng như con lửa đốt, vì vẫn khôn cùng. Chánh giám quân Diệp Ngự Sử là một gã quan văn, lại đã chết trên chiến trường.